revealed on social media that he was going to leave the club. Alan Cleverley is secretary of the West Bromwich Albion Supporters Club.
I thought after what the FA had done, he'd keep his mouth shut and let things go to the end of the season. I think most of us will think, let's close the book on this whole sorry incident and get on with playing football. I'm glad it's now behind us.
1,000 people are expected to take part in a protest in Rugeley after a woman was called a tramp for breastfeeding in public. A photograph of Emily Slough feeding her 8-month-old daughter was put on Facebook with the insulting caption. Emma Halford is one of the mothers who'll be taking part in the mass breastfeeding protest later today.
I couldn't actually believe that anybody would comment on a breastfeeding mum and make it such a big deal when it's not really. I've only ever had one negative comment from a gentleman who was looking too long, but I mean his wife quickly corrected him, which amused me.
And Shane O'Connor will be talking to Emily Slough and taking your comments in his programme after the news. Local authorities in England are calling on the government to stop wealthy single people being able to claim council tax discount. The local government association says the money should go to the poorest families instead. The weather, a dry, sunny and warm day today with a top temperature of 16 Celsius, 61 Fahrenheit. Dry and clear this evening and tonight with the breeze keeping the temperatures no lower than 5 Celsius, 41 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow starting cloudy with a top temperature of 16 Celsius, 61 Fahrenheit with a good deal of sunshine, and the outlook for the next couple of days staying much the same.
Is that it? You don't get much for your money on a Saturday, do you? Or can I get a refund? Look at her face. No, the only reason I ask, and you know what men are like when they've got a little bit of an illness. I nearly died, Nicole, I nearly died. I've got this thing this morning. I've had like a kind of a cold without having a cold, right? Yes. And I don't want to go on about it, but I've got these tablets that have got myrrh in them.
Myrrh?
Yeah. MYRRH, that's the gold frankincense. And apparently I looked it up, and it is kind of the sap of a plant. And if you want to come down and smell my tablets, you are more than welcome to do that. And that's not an offer I make lightly, I tell you that now. But I've got my tablets with my myrrh in. I don't know what to do. I've got my cough medicine there. I've got my tablets with my myrrh in there.
Lovely.
And I've got my water there. Oh, it's gone all over my shirt, that hasn't it? Which do I go with for a bit of a...
Go for the myrrh.
I knew. Everyone picks the myrrh because they all want to see whether I'm allergic or reacting to it. That's what it is.
Shane O'Connor.
On BBC WM.
95.6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
Yes, the voice of Birmingham and the Black Country is a little bit croaky today, so bear with me. Hopefully it's going to last for the 3 hours. Great to have your company today. Shane O'Connor sitting in for Iain Lee. Who's not with you today, quite obviously, otherwise it would be really crowded in this chair. But we are going to have the great conversations that I know Iain has on a Saturday. And I'd love your help. Well, just listening to Nicole in the news there and some of the things she was talking about, this demonstration today... for a lady who's been branded by social media, by some crazy person on social media, I would have thought, because, why would you want to worry about calling other people names on Twitter? She's been branded a tramp on Facebook. A tramp. What did she do? Did she go and attack somebody else? No, she didn't do that. Did she go and abuse somebody? No, as far as we know, she hasn't abused anybody. All she did, her crime for being called a tramp, was to breastfeed in public. That's why. Now, somebody, and this to me, you do kind of wonder, what were your motivations when you were doing this, mate? If it was a bloke, I think it was a bloke actually who took this. Rather than saying that is disgusting, and it seems to be the way nowadays, we say, oh, that is absolutely disgusting. Let me go and take a photograph of it, and let me put it on social media. I want to know your thoughts about breastfeeding and about social media and the part that it plays in this kind of incident on the show this morning. So if you want to join us in the usual way, 03453 009956, and I particularly want to hear from you if you think that breastfeeding is something that shouldn't be done in public. Let's be honest about this. Come on, we're all friends here. We'll be honest, put the cards on the table. If you're disgusted by breastfeeding, if you think it is something that shouldn't happen in public, I promise I won't judge. I won't promise that I won't ask you more questions about it, but I want to hear from you on the show this morning because lots of people are coming to defend this lady. In fact, she's going to join us on the show a little bit later. Emily is her name. And they're having a bit of a demonstration against this branding her as a tramp on Facebook. It's going to take place in Rugeley a bit later on today. But I want to hear from you, whether you think it's disgusting or whether you think it's disgusting that somebody would take a photo of somebody else who was... To me, that's the weirder thing in all of this. Natural, isn't it, to see somebody breastfeeding? I don't really think I have a strong view one way or the other. I don't think I'm a person who thinks, that is disgusting. And I don't think that everybody should be... forced to do it in public. But to my mind, it's one of those things of, well, OK, fine, if that's what they want to do, and that's what she wants to do, then fine. Maybe there are areas that you wouldn't want to do it in public. Maybe there are times that you wouldn't want to do it in public. And maybe there are people who wouldn't want to see it in public. Perhaps we'll hear from some of those on the show today. I'm quite interested to hear what you think about that one. So we'll kick that one around and we'll talk about it. And as I say, the normal number, 03453 009956 is my number. Line's getting busy already, so if you want to make your thoughts known on the show sooner rather than later, WM 81333 on the text 81333 and start your message WM to join us. I'm on Twitter as well, actually. Shane on Air is the place to find me on Twitter, and that's my email address as well. shaneonair@bbc.co.uk. Also talking about smoking as well. The head teacher of a school for children with behavioural issues, I don't know if you caught up with this one, has defended her decision to allow the kids to smoke. What we're doing today, sir, we're doing woodwork, and we're going to smoke 20 Benson and Edges before lunchtime as well. Come on! They have behavioural issues, it says, and I'm guessing that the teacher has thought, you know what, it's easier to allow these 14 to 16-year-olds to have a cigarette in the classroom if that's what they want to do. It's easier to do that than it is to actually stand up to them and say, no, I'm sorry, I know that you may have behavioural issues, but those are the rules and you're not allowed to do it. Now, what kind of lesson is that setting for them in future life? Because they're going to come into contact with lots and lots of places where you won't be allowed to smoke. Are they just going to say, well, actually, no, this law doesn't apply to me. I'm allowed, because at school I was allowed to smoke anywhere I wanted to. It was no problem at all, miss or sir or officer or wherever they happen to be. So we're going to dig deeper into that one as well. And again, love your thoughts. Is the teacher just copping out? Maybe I've got recollections of when you were at school and you were allowed to smoke. I can't actually remember smoking, because I used to smoke. I was stupid enough to smoke, and I used to smoke at school. And I'm not really quite sure that I can remember smoking at school. And by that I mean on the school premises. You know, the old colloquialism, behind the bike shed kind of thing. And I'm pretty certain that wasn't allowed, or we didn't do it, or I was just too goody shoes to do it. I don't know. I remember when we were allowed, at later, sort of 15, 16, we were allowed off the school premises. And we were allowed to, well, we weren't allowed to smoke, but they didn't, so we were off the school premises, so they used to turn a blind eye. I think that kind of thing has probably gone on for a long while. If you're a teacher and you've come across this, what do you say to kids? If they come into your classroom and they're 14, 15 years old and you can smell fags on them, and you know the difference between, if they've been in a sort of atmosphere of smoking, maybe with their parents in the car or something like that, or they've been smoking themselves. Do you challenge them as a teacher? Have you ever done that? You don't have to give your name, but you can text me 81333, start your message WM, 0345 009956 is my number. If you want to get in touch with us, love to hear from you on the show.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
Now, the head teacher of a school with behavioural issues, as I mentioned, has defended her decision to allow pupils to smoke. Students aged 14 to 16 at the Honeyhill Primary Referral Unit in Peterborough are allowed two supervised off-site smoking breaks. I'm sorry. Each day. Where's Jones? He's gone for a smoking break, miss. Head teacher Claire George said allowing smoking or stopping people, stop some pupils smoking, stop them from absconding if they're allowed to smoke. But the Peterborough MP, Stuart Jackson, said he'd asked the City Council, which runs the unit, to review the policy. And if it stops kids playing truant, should they be allowed to smoke? Should they be allowed to smoke under any circumstance? That's just blackmail, isn't it? If you don't let me smoke, then I, quite frankly, I'm going to run off. I'm going to abscond. Let's talk to Nellie Williams, who's a former youth worker with an offending officer specialising in truancy, joining us on the show. Morning, Nellie.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us this morning.
That's quite all right.
What do you make of this, then? That's blackmail, isn't it? If you don't let me have a fag, miss, I'm going over the wall.
Well, it's really quite a massive story, isn't it? And it's just been reported that it was this one school. As you rightly said, I was a former youth offending link officer, and we know that you can't buy tobacco under the age of 18. Anybody buying tobacco for somebody under the age of 18 is therefore in the wrong. Any shopkeepers selling tobacco to people under the age of 18 can be penalised for this. So these children, and I use the word children because that is indeed what they are not legally able to buy tobacco. So they are getting it from somewhere, which is a failing. And I am very two-faced because I used to be a smoker and I did used to nab cigarettes from my mother back in the 80s.
We're all in that situation this morning. Like, we're all thinking, "Oh, I used to smoke. What did I? How bad was I?" Yeah, you're quite right.
Now, these children are at a PRU, a pupil referral unit, and they have difficulties. But the thing is, I believe, and I will sit on the fence on this because there's no wrong or no right way, but don't shout me out just yet.
Go on.
But the thing is, these children do have behavioural difficulties. If truancy is a massive, massive issue, if it gets these children into the classroom, that's good. However, and this is my big however, it's giving the control to the children. And that is my concern. My other concern is, so they go off with their teacher or a teaching assistant off the school premises. Now, I can remember an old sergeant saying about smoking. He went into somebody's house, they lit up a cigarette, and he said, "Could you put that cigarette out, please, because I'm at work?" And they said, "But this is my house." And he said, "But I'm at work and it's illegal to smoke in the workplace." And so are these people, the teachers, the TAs, so they're working, so they're having smoking in their workplace because it doesn't matter where they're working, they're still working, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So what's the legality there?
All right, let me just spin back a second because here's one thing I want to know. Then we're talking about these. Let me get the phraseology right. They have behavioural issues.
Yeah.
Are these? What are we talking? What does that mean? Does that mean these are kids that are being excluded or expelled? I'm trying to put it in my language now.
Yes, it's probably children that have been excluded, that have been expelled, that have had poor attendance, that they are some of the troubled children for all manner of reasons. They're not. Let's not label every child as a naughty child.
No, but my point is though, these are kids presumably who are struggling with getting what the difference is between right or wrong already in their educational life. So
absolutely.
So how he's giving them this mixed message again? Because let's face it, as I said a bit earlier on, when they get in the real world and you light up a cigarette in hospital, then people are not going to go, "Oh, do you mind ever so much if you don't?" and worry about your civil liberties. They're going to want you to put it out, aren't they?
Exactly, and that's the thing. And it's children have to have boundaries. They have to know boundaries. And if they're not aware of boundaries and they want to keep pushing them and rebelling and in the 80s we all did the beating the system kind of thing. Nowadays children expect a lot more and adults are sort of standing there looking at children thinking, you can't go hands on like back in the day. You can't that they know, everybody knows their rights, and that's the thing. And the thing that concerns me more than anything is that that smoking kills. And these children have smoked for however many years, because I understand from the article, if you already smoke, then you have to sign an agreement with the school, but you can't start smoking halfway through. So again, what about these children who don't smoke? What 10-minute interlude do they get when the others are off smoking? Will it encourage people to smoke? It's so huge.
Yeah, it prepares them for a life in work, though, doesn't it? Because that's the argument that people have now. They go, well, my colleagues go off for a cigarette break. What am I doing? Why am I not going off for a break as well? Nellie, good to talk to you. Thanks for that. Nellie Williams, a former youth offending officer specialising in truancy. What do you think about that, though? Allowing 14 to 16-year-olds to have a cigarette break? Give me a call, 03453 009956. That's 03453 009956. On the text, WM. Start your message, WM, and send it to 81333. Shane O'Connor sitting in for Iain Lee with added yodelling because of a bit of a throat problem, but we'll get there eventually. Liz Saul's here with the travel. Morning, Liz.
No added yodelling, Shane.
I'll
Good
put
morning.
it in for you.
Thank you. As you head around Dudley, it's already looking quite slow around Scott's Green Island, Cinderbank Island. Just seems to be a bit of traffic there. No incidents reported. Whatever it was on the A38 around the Fradley turn has been cleared out of the carriageway, police tell us. It's not looking too bad on the motorway routes at all so far this morning. As you make your way along the M6, that's generally moving well. No problems to report. Your match day travel sees Baggies fans off to Swansea City this afternoon. So as you make your way down the M5 and onto the A50, the A40, it's going to take you about 2.5 to 3 hours to get there. You might wish to avoid the M4 as Cardiff are playing in terms of rugby around there, so that's going to be very congested. But so far, so good on the main routes. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
You might want to avoid the M4 because it's rubbish and he's always chock-a-block. I used to have to do that journey down the A34. I used to go to Reading.
Oh, yes.
On an almost daily basis, which was a depressing thought in itself. The only thing that kept me going was Concorde used to come over at 10 o'clock every morning. That's how long ago it was. But I used to do that down the A34 and the M4, Liz. And you get to the M4 and you just think, oh, right, where am I going to park up today? It was just, every day was a nightmare.
Thanks to Doug on Twitter, who said, I climb into the paper skip at school on a wet, cold, dark Friday afternoon and think why. I'm wondering why you do it as well, Douglas, to be honest with you.
Richard Wilford.
Sundays, 7 till 9.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
Shane O'Connor, excuse me, sorry, you weren't supposed to hear that one. Shane O'Connor with you on BBC WM 95.6, sitting in for Iain Lee. Star on Twitter this morning, Star Pumpkin. I love some of your Twitter names, I do. I love them. Star Pumpkin, Star Etheridge is tweeting this morning saying, most natural thing is for a mother to feed her child the way that nature intended. People need to get a grip. Hashtag pro breastfeeding, which is quite interesting. Is there a pro breastfeeding group on Twitter? I wonder what they make of this latest story. That's one of the things we're talking about on the show a little bit later. Get your call in now and let me know what you think. If I can find somebody between now and 12 who is vigorously against breastfeeding in public and can make a cogent argument against that, I would so love to hear from you this morning on the show, because I'm fascinated. I'll be honest with you, I really do. This is one where I sit on the fence. I'm not worried one way or the other as to whether people do. I kind of think it's a woman's own body. It's her child. Do as you wish. Who am I? How qualified am I to actually say one way or the other what you should do, what you shouldn't do, or where you should do it? Every time I've seen breastfeeding, I've seen it done in a way that you think, well, how can you possibly have a problem with that? You know, and Jimmy, who's producing the show today, was saying that he'd experienced this in his family, and the family member who was breastfeeding used to have a shawl that she'd kind of put across, and you couldn't really tell. You'd have to look really hard. I suspect this is the case, and I've not seen the Twitter in question. If anyone's seen the tweet, by the way, can retweet it to me, where she's been branded, what was the phrase? A tramp. Oh, it was on Facebook, wasn't it? A tramp. She's been branded as a tramp, this young lady. Emily is going to join us on the show a bit later on. She's been called a tramp for no other reason than she dared to breastfeed in public. Is that where we're at with this argument now? We were also, Jim and I were talking just before the show about what would have happened 20 years ago if you'd wanted to do this. Before social media, before Twitter, before Facebook, before all that kind of stuff. Presumably, you'd have had to have taken a photo, get it developed at Boots, then have a little card made up. You'd have attached it to the card, put it in the window in your local post office, I'm assuming, because this is all coming out of social media. Now, it's quite interesting, all the talk about Anelka has resigned / been sacked. because he's been talking on Twitter about stuff that he should, well, about his career, and his club. Some would say quite rightly have said, well, we don't want you talking about your club until before you've even spoken to us. But again, Twitter is social media almost at the heart of the story. Is that part of the problem and not part of the solution? So breastfeeding in public want to know from you this morning as well, and we're still continuing our conversation, allowing youngsters out to have a cigarette break in school. Come on.
BBC WM
95.6.
You're having a laugh, aren't you, really? This is this story. This head teacher of a school for children with behaviour issues has defended the decision to allow this to happen. They're 14 and 16-year-olds at Honey Hill Pupil Referral Unit in Peterborough. They're allowed 2 supervised off-site smoking breaks each day. Oh, that's all right then. They make them go off the premises, so that's fine. The local MP, Stuart Jackson, Peterborough MP, has said that he's asked the City Council, which runs the unit, to review their policy. But if it works, as we were saying a little bit earlier, if it's okay, if it works, then is it okay to do it? Let's talk to John Bangs, who taught in special schools for 20 years, now visiting professor at the Institute of Education, and also Paul Hooper, who's part of West Midlands Tobacco Control Network, who joins us on the show. Morning, fellas.
Morning.
Thanks for being with us. John, if I can start with you first
of
all. 2 wrongs don't make a right, do they? You can't say to kids, we want to teach you the right difference between right and wrong. We want to give you the skills and the tools to be integrated into society. All right, we're going to make up special rules for you as you go along.
Well, I mean, there's an obvious point to make right at the beginning of this conversation, and that is that tobacco is bad for you and very, very harmful. So that got that one out of the way.
Yeah.
The big issue, however, is I'm not sure people understand how tough it is to work in pupil referral units. The kids who go to those, what they're called PRUs, the kids who go to them are, in a sense, in the last chance saloon. They are, if they're not in those units, then they're not in school.
Right.
Whatever the truancy officers or anyone else, they are absolutely out of the system. Now,
John, can I ask you, does anybody ever get thrown out of one of these PRUs?
They do, and I think that's a very good point. I mean, I don't want to comment on the individual issue, but it does raise a very important question. Having said that, and obviously the head teacher believes that it's part of trying to socialise kids and actually bring them within a structure. Having said that, there is a very, very important issue about where the red lines are drawn, the disciplinary red lines. Now, she's obviously taken a decision that it's possible to accommodate those kids within that structure. And remember, actually, that probably what the head teacher is doing is reconstructing some kind of structure in those kids' lives that they don't have at home. I mean, they simply don't have it at home. That's the only fixed point in their lives.
But if it's outside the rules, the rules of normality, and when I say that, increasingly, if you're a smoker, and one of the reasons I gave up, John, was because I found there were fewer and fewer places that I could actually do it without being vilified for doing it. So if it's outside the rules of normality, what's the point? There's no point giving them a structure if it falls outside of normality, is there?
Well, I mean, I think there are 2 things here. First of all, it's incomprehensible in a normal school situation to allow smoking within school as part of a structured day. It is incomprehensible, and it wouldn't happen in mainstream schools, but this is a very, very different situation. I'm not defending it. It makes me feel a bit queasy as well, I agree,
But in reality, these PRUs that are supposed to be the last chance saloon, you're saying, are ended up being softer than normal schools.
Well, I wouldn't make the judgment that they're being softer. I think the decision that she's probably taken is that she can accommodate it, because the big issue is, do you want them in the system or don't you want them in the system? Do you want them on the streets, possibly taking part in criminal action or whatever, or do you want them in school still learning, and that's part of the deal? Now, it is a genuinely wicked question.
John, you can't do that. You can't go, do you want us to have the rules like this, or do you want us to send them round your house?
No, but that's her decision, and I'm not going to rush to judgment on it, actually. I genuinely don't know the situation, but I do think it's a very tough question to work out, and it's a question that I'm afraid people who've rushed to judgment, including the MP, don't take into account that these are not normal kids.
Well, he's hardly rushed to judgment, has he? He's just said, can you review the policy? I don't think that's unreasonable, is it?
That's a fair point. Yes, he did say that. So it wasn't as heavy as I described, but it still is a very, very important question about how far you go. There is a debate there.
You make a good point, and the point is that we don't know what it's like to work in these units, and she does, and she's making that decision based on what she knows. John, stay there, because I want to bring in Paul Hooper as well, part of West Midlands Tobacco Control Network. It's interesting because John started off by saying, Paul, that, you know, smoking is bad for you, smoking kills. That's the one thing that he wanted to say first and foremost. To you, I guess, that's the bottom line in all of this, isn't it?
It's certainly a big issue here, because we're talking about young people who, if they continue to smoke, half of them will die early, and I think it's very important that people are helped to quit smoking as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I think as far as this particular situation is concerned, like most of your speakers this morning, I too won't make a judgment on whether the school is doing it for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. I'm not an expert on that, but when it comes to this, it's not about allowing people to smoke. It's the nicotine addiction. And there are many other ways of treating a nicotine addiction than allowing people outside to smoke. There are nicotine products that the young people could be allowed to use instead that would mean they could remain within the premises. And I suppose one of these, this issue does actually blow the myth out of the water that smoking calms you down, because clearly the lack of cigarettes for these people means that they are disruptive.
Well, I mean, that's a crock in itself, isn't it? Because I used to think that was one of my main crutches, Paul, was I used to say, I get really stressed in my job, you know, when I first started broadcasting, it's very stressful, and that's why I do it. But I found out the stress was created by wanting a cigarette, not anything I was doing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I presume the head teacher's trying to deal with is the disruption caused by nicotine withdrawal.
Right.
But that she's dealing with it by inviting people to go outside and have cigarettes, which are the cause of the problem.
Are we not storing up problems for the future, though, Paul? Because increasingly now, and some would say absolutely rightly so, increasingly now there are fewer and fewer places that you can have a cigarette without, you know, making sure that you don't affect somebody else. So these youngsters are storing up problems because they're going to go outside into the great wide world with the expectation that they are special, they are different, they are outside the rules, and they can light up anywhere they want.
Well, that is the point that I was making, really, that if the head teacher discusses with the local public health team in Peterborough that they've got this problem with people wanting to go outside and have a cigarette, they could come up with all sorts of alternatives that would actually keep them in school and also deal with the nicotine addiction. I don't think we should dismiss this as being an issue for pupil referral units. It's all schools where young people are smoking will have disruption caused by this. And I know that from my wife's experience when she was invigilating exams, people were desperate to get out of the exam, not because they didn't like the test, but they wanted to have a cigarette.
Right.
And this is in a perfectly normal school in Birmingham. And we shouldn't underestimate the disruption that smoking causes to the education system.
John, I'm wondering whether this has always been the way and that schools turn a blind eye. I really desperately want to hear from a teacher on the show. In fact, if we could get a teacher on today to say, if you get a pupil come in smoking, smelling of fags and smoke, would you challenge them or not? Teachers have always turned a blind eye, John, haven't they, really, in a way?
Well, I'm not sure they've turned a blind eye, but I do think... I'm sorry, I don't know, I've forgotten your colleague's name is on the line.
Paul Hooper on the other line,
Paul's point about having a structure there and a public health thing as part of the programme within the school is a very good point indeed, actually. I don't think teachers turn a blind eye per se. I think they can't comment too much if they're smelling a tobacco. There is the issue of actually nipping out for a cigarette, during lesson time or after whatever. I do think, however, that it is an issue of public health. I would, however, emphasise that pupil referral units are very, very different. And I do think what she's done is triggered a very, very interesting debate, particularly in the area where schools are dealing with kids with who are real school rejectors or have emotional behavioural difficulties. Is where do you draw the red lines of what is right and what is wrong? Because the one thing you have to do, particularly with those kids, is remain consistent. And I think there's an interesting next step, and you're doing it actually in your radio discussion now. There is an interesting next step about how do you continue to include kids in the system when, if they're not in there, they would be damaged much more if they're outside it.
I mentioned, and I asked you, John, because I'll be honest with you, I mean, I bow to your superior knowledge of pupil referral units. I mean, I've heard of them. I've never been in one. I've never seen one in action. But I mentioned, did people go out the other end? Do they get expelled? Do they get thrown out of those? Do they ever get integrated back into school as well? And if they do, are we not making a rod for our own? Miss, at my Pru, I was allowed to go and have 2 cigarette breaks. So you're going to get pupils trying to be reintegrated back into mainstream education who want 2 cigarette breaks in a day, John?
Well, the Prus are really for more or less for secondary kids. I mean, there's a remarkable distinction between primary and secondary. Kids are often lost to the system when they move into secondary schools, and there is another secondary question, as it were, coin a phrase, about whether or not the structure of secondary schools is right, including, with different lessons with different teachers, for kids who are very vulnerable. That's a separate issue, actually, but they're quite isolated, pupil referral units. When I was head of education at the NUT, we used to have a conference every year for pupil referral units. And the relief that those teachers, 1 or 2 or 3 teachers within a small setting, very rarely talk outside that to mainstream schools, for example, coming together and sharing their experiences, it was a real boon for them to have that conference. And there is an issue about how pupil referral units are integrated, not necessarily those kids coming into mainstream schools, but actually how the staff themselves are integrated in conversation with mainstream staff, how they can share their experiences and share knowledge. That is a genuine question, actually.
And do kids ever go back into secondary education if they're referred to a Pru?
No, I don't think so, and I think that's one of the problems we've got, and for also with kids with special educational needs. I don't think the vast majority of young people in secondary Prus actually do go back into the system.
Right, you'll see out your education days.
There is an issue about how far they're looked after in the transition from leaving school into adult life when they're between 14 and 19.
Paul, do you do education work for the West Midlands Tobacco Control Network? Do you do stuff in schools as well? Do you know people who do?
Generally speaking, what we try and do is to skill the teachers and school nurses to carry out this sort of work on our behalf.
Right.
We wouldn't have enough hours in the day to go around all the schools.
No.
So it is about everybody understanding what the position is, what can be done, and what I mentioned earlier, which is providing alternatives to smoking, which people can then, hopefully, I mean, what I'm thinking about the kids at this pupil referral unit, is that if they're perhaps encouraged to try alternative methods during the day when they're in the school, they might think, well, I don't need cigarettes after all, and they might actually quit.
So how do we tackle... You know what's coming next. How do we tackle this then when they're doing their education piece and the teacher stood in front of the class and they go, sir, but if I get expelled from this school and go to Peterborough, I get 2 fag breaks a day, sir, so why can't I go there? What's the teacher going to say to that, Paul?
I think you've got to be honest about cigarettes and smoking and point out that it's something that if you make a decision to smoke, then you've got a 1 in 2 chance of dying early. It's going to cost you a couple of £1,000 a year or more. We've got the budget coming up next week. We're hoping to see an increase in tobacco tax.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most stupid decisions you can ever make. And that's why most people who smoke wish they never started, why most people who smoke would like to quit. And that's why we work very hard to give them all the opportunities to do so. And there's NHS services out there to help people to stop smoking. Unfortunately, people have to go through about 20 years or so of decision-making before they get there.
Yeah, and the rest of them are in denial if they say that they're not. Fellas, we're going to leave you there. Thanks to the both of you for joining us, Paul Hooper and John Bangs. Paul Hooper is from the West Midlands Tobacco Control Network, and John Bangs taught in special schools for 20 years. I've talked to John before. He's been a guest on my programmes previously. He knows of what he speaks. He's been at the sharp end of special education, and he knows he's not condemning this teacher for doing what they're doing. There seems to be a problem with the system, and that is enough to say, OK, we'll allow youngsters to smoke, because let's face it, that's easier than trying to get them back into these pupil referral units, because if they go over the wall, we can't put hands on them. So we're trying to plaster up all the different cracks in that particular wall by giving them another problem. I want to know what you think about this, though. Give me a call, 03 453 009956. Some great texts coming through, by the way, and we'll do those in a little while. 81333 on the text. Start your message, WM. I'm on Twitter, Shane on Air, all one word, ShaneOnair, Shane on Air on Twitter. And that's my email address as well, shaneonair@bbc.co.uk. Whatever medium you use, I want to hear your thoughts, waiting so patiently for us this morning. He deserves a medal, or at least a cigarette break. Paul's in Cannock. Morning, Paul.
Morning.
Thanks for hanging on, mate. I'm sorry to keep you waiting so long, but you're with us now. What do you reckon? Smoking breaks, what are your thoughts?
I've never heard such a load of codswallop in all my life. I'm sorry, I've never known anything like it. So what you're telling me is you've got a kid who's really naughty.
Yeah.
He goes to a nice school and he's like got these 1-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratios to be taught.
Yeah.
It's a smoking break. Well, if he's 14, it's illegal. So aren't these people committing a crime by allowing these children to smoke?
You would think so. I mean, I thought John Bangs made it. Was it John Bangs made that point, I think, or Paul certainly made that point. What do you say to the other kids as well? Because if you've got a classroom full of disruptive children, which is presumably what you have here in this particular thing, Paul, right? And two of them say, "Sir, I want to go out now. I'm going to have my cigarette break," and you've got another 8 in the class or whatever. What do you think they're going to say? It's going to be chaos, isn't it? Presumably.
Oh, it's pathetic. What happens when they get a job and they go and work in an environment and they say, well, actually, we don't have smoking breaks.
Yeah.
And they go, what do you mean we don't have smoking breaks? Well, I'm sorry, if you want this job, we don't have smoking breaks.
Yeah.
You can't say to the customers, oh, I'm ever so sorry, can you all hold fire with your shop in a minute? Because I'm so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm not talking about big houses and big supermarkets. I'm talking about the small businesses when they've got 3 or 4 staff.
Anyone now? I mean, where I live, on the way home, I pass through sometimes like a business industrial estate kind of thing, and I didn't quite know what was happening at first, but a significant way, and I'm talking right out of the yard, and these are distribution sheds, so it's a long way, right out the yard, right through the gates, and about 200 yards down the street is where the designated point for a cigarette is for these buildings. So most people can only have a fag at lunchtime. Because they never get, in their normal break, they never get there and back in time, Paul. So you're right, you're making these people think that the world is going to revolve around them, aren't you, I guess?
Well, of course you are. I mean, how about the people that have got alcoholic problems, what we're going to do? And I don't know whether kids have alcoholic problems, I've no idea. But so what we're going to do, let them all go to the pub and have a drink, and then... What about somebody that's addicted to gambling? Are they going to be able to go to the local bookies and put a bet on?
Although, let's just consider the other side for a moment, because, as I say, I respect John Bangs because he's worked in special education for over 20 years, and so he knows what it's like. And he was saying that the disruption, if you don't do it, it far outweighs... Is that your dog?
Oh, I've got 5 of them. I'm a dog trainer.
You've got to keep walking. But that far outweighs letting them, just go and have a cigarette, because otherwise they'll disrupt the whole day. You'll get nothing done. Surely it's better to do that and have that little bit of sanity, isn't it?
Well, you would think, yeah, but on the other hand, if I play up enough, does that mean I get to go out and have a 10-minute break?
Yeah.
So, let's be realistic. It's absolute rubbish. Nobody at 14 should be encouraged to smoke, and somebody should be able to say, play up all you like, it's illegal and you're not doing it, end of.
Listen, good one. I'm going to let you go because it sounds like it's all going to turn nasty out there in Cannock. All right, Paul, have a good day, mate. Thanks for joining us, Paul in Cannock, waiting so patiently. How many dogs did he say he got? About 8 dogs there. He's a dog trainer. I didn't realise. Otherwise, we'd have probably gotten to him a little bit sooner. Let's talk to Mo in Tamworth, who joins us on the show. Morning, Mo.
Good morning, Shane.
Thanks for being with us. What do you say this morning?
Welcome. I'm trying to catch my breath.
It is. Do you know what? Can I just ask you, have you done what I've done this morning and immediately you revert back to your own school days and think, we would never have got away with this?
No. And you know what else popped into my head that I'd completely forgotten?
Go on.
It was a well-known piece of graffiti. And this graffiti said, "Children rule." Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That used to be. Now this is a bit. This situation has brought that back to me. First of all, I'd like to say, Shane, how long if this rule gets approved, how long before it's interstate schools and they'll be saying they want it for this reason, that reason, and the other reason?
Oh, do you think it won't be, will it? Surely, I mean, this...
In this day and age, I would not be surprised.
This argument surely only works because what we're saying here is that these are a collection of the most disruptive pupils, and I know it's wrong and I know it's blackmail, but what we're actually saying, what it boils down to it is that these are so disruptive, these youngsters, that if they don't get their own way, then it will be chaos and we don't have the mechanisms to deal with them. So they are talking special circumstances. You don't agree with that? You think it could be mainstream?
No, I
as well?
don't, because somewhere along the line, what's the reason for these disruptive children? It's the lack of discipline, it's the lack of proper adult parenting or adult teaching or adult discipline. Somewhere along the line, adults are to blame. So, and now, because of this, if these children are allowed to smoke, it's giving in. It's giving in to them. But, Shane, can I say to you, please, this is not the main reason I rang in. The first thing that came into my head, and I heard this with my mouth wide open and my eyes popping, was in 30 or 40 years' time, when these children will probably be getting smoking-related illnesses, possibly cancer.
Yeah.
Can they then make a claim on the education system for giving them permission as children to smoke?
Yeah, they will. They'll be allowed to, won't they? Yeah, you're absolutely right. I never even thought of that, yeah. 40 years down the line, they'll be saying, well, it was the teachers, what made me do it?
Yeah.
So what's the answer, though, given that they're saying... Mo, can I ask you a personal question?
Sorry, yes.
Go on. Are you a parent?
Yes, of course I am.
Okay. See, I'm not, and I appreciate your perspective on this one. If a child says to you, I am not doing this until XYZ, how do you do? How do you handle that? How do you deal with it?
I stand by what I say, because I'm the adult and I'm the parent.
And you just stand fast as you can?
I stand by that. I've had my youngest daughter scream and scream and scream, and I don't give in. Because that's not because I'm a hard parent. I'm a disciplinarian. It's part of my job. And I don't give in. And eventually she will come round. This happened on many occasions for many different reasons. She's turned into an absolutely lovely, well-mannered, well-balanced, intelligent young woman with a great job.
Right. And that's because you've been consistent.
I was consistent.
That's the secret.
My ground.
Yeah.
But too many people, especially professionals, Shane. These are the people. Sometimes parents don't know any better, even though they should.
Yeah.
But professional people should know. No means no.
Do you know what I immediately thought of this morning was, I don't know if she hasn't been on for a long time, but Super Nanny. You ever watch that on the TV, Super Nanny?
Yeah.
Where she says, just because she comes in with fresh eyes and says, look, you're not being consistent, you're not doing these things consistently, you're not giving that. And you hit the nail on the head, Mo. I completely agree with what you said there, was saying that probably the reason that they're in at this unit for children who can't fit into mainstream is because they've had an inconsistent message so far, and what we're now going to do is reinforce that by giving them another one.
Exactly. And children eventually do respect discipline, and they do respect strength.
All right, tell me discipline and strength then. What do? You've got a 14-year-old and you're their teacher, and you've got a 14-year-old and they say, Miss, I'm going for my cigarette break. And you say, no, you're not. And they get up and they start to walk towards the door of that classroom. You can't lay a hand on them.
No, I can't. All I can
You can't stop them. You can't restrain them. So what are you going to do? What sanction can you put in place?
Remind them that they're breaking the rules, not just by wanting to smoke on the premises, but by eventually walking out. If that's what they need to do, they will be breaking the rules.
Right.
And you can't do any more than that.
Big deal, miss. Big deal, I'm breaking the rules, miss. That's how I got here in the first place, because I'm a rule breaker.
Well, I'd then say, I'd like to think now I'm going to change that situation. I might not get through, to these children.
Yeah.
But I would persistently, every day if necessary, say the same things till they leave the school at the end of the day with my words ringing in their head. I would just be consistent and persistent.
You frighten me a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm really a really nice person, Shane, but I know how to be a disciplinarian, and it's lacking in our system and in our culture.
In a nice way, I mean, though. Do you know what I mean? You do. I think you should have gone into... What do you do for a living? You're not a teacher, are you?
No, I'm retired now.
You should have been a teacher. Wasted career. Mo, good to talk to you.
Oh, no, I agree. Thank you very much.
Mo in Tamworth there joining us. Kevin Kingsheath. Can you hang on 2 seconds while we get the travel?
I can, yeah.
You're a patient man. Thanks for that. Back with you in a second. Shane O'Connor sitting in for Iain Lee on BBC WM 95.6. Give us a call now and add your 2 pence. 03453 009956. My number. Excuse the voice. I nearly died.
To me.
What, sorry?
Sounds all right to me.
Yeah, but somebody said that to me yesterday, and I said, I was going, ooh, 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 like they're sounding like I was some kind of whale or something.
Like no, you sound quite husky.
Do
it's
I?
A bit sexy. It's not too
bad. Okay, baby, give me some travel.
All right, then, since you are so nicely. It's looking a little bit slow in Dudley this morning, particularly all along the A461. Pockets of congestion around Scots Green Island, Cinderbank Island, also around Prawn Island as well. You'll find little bits of congestion. No incidents to report. The motorways are behaving themselves. Obviously, be mindful. Likely to get a little bit busy as the morning goes on, but so far so good. Baggies fans are off to Swansea for this afternoon's game, and that's going to take you about 3 hours, depending on which route you take. But the suggested one, the M5, M50, A40, and around the Heads of the Valleys road is all looking okay so far. No incidents reported there. Birmingham City fans are off to Sheffield, and the M42, A42, M1, or the A38 and the M1, all those routes are generally looking okay as well. Walsall fans going to Rotherham. It's a similar journey on the M42 towards the M1, and as I say, that's looking okay. If you can update us, 08453 002288.
Did you say the Prawn Island?
Yes.
Where's the Prawn Island?
Well, it's in Dudley. Obviously, it's on the A461. It's officially known as the Flood Street Roundabout.
Oh, okay. And why do they call it the Prawn Island? Smell or the look of it?
No, there's all of these islands in Dudley. They've got little sculptures in the middle.
No way. You can. Do you know what? I've got to get back there, Dudley. I'm coming to see you. Go on.
The thing is it might be a scorpion, but the first few times I saw it, and a few of my fellow travel presenters saw it, it looked like a prawn.
Right.
So it's not a very good scorpion.
Yeah.
So it's kind of got the nickname Prawn Island.
Can I just say you've done it down in one sentence, really, haven't you? Because, I mean, if it was supposed to be a scorpion, it's supposed to be tough and hard-shelled and black and mysterious and dangerous, whereas a prawn is just essentially lunch, isn't it, really?
BBC WM
95.6.
Oh, it's just to see so many people. I think we've all got Irish heritage somewhere along the line.
This year, BBC WM is going to be live from Birmingham's biggest party.
We're going to start the St. Patrick's Day Parade. 1, 2, 3, go!
Bringing the atmosphere, personalities and stories to you.
It's been fantastic. Birmingham Parade is the best parade because the atmosphere is so much better.
Join me, Pete Morgan and Bob Brolly, live from Digbeth as the city turns green.
Purely and simply, this parade gets better and better.
Birmingham St. Patrick's Day Parade, this Sunday from 12.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM
95.6.
Do you know, it's like if you were choosing a name, you were going to be a superhero, and they said, what are you going to be? Say, I dress in black. It's got a hard shell. It's shiny. I'm going to call myself the Scorpion. I've got a sting in my tail. Or you're going to say, well, actually, I call myself the Prawn. I cover myself in mayonnaise and hang about between 2 slices of bread. Doesn't have the same impact, does it, at all, really?
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
Could catch on, though. 11 minutes to 10. It's Shane with you, sitting in for Iain Lee on BBC WM 95.6. Let's talk to Kevin Kingsheath, see what he makes of 14 to 16-year-olds going out the classroom in a special unit to go and have a fag break. Kev, thanks for hanging on. What you got for us?
Morning. I think your superhero name would be Husky, wouldn't it, at the
moment? I am Husky, yeah. I'm not sure my superpower would be. I'm not really quite sure. Coughing over people, I suppose, Kev, would be my... Although the other thing I've done this morning, actually, I went up to the shop just round the corner from the studios here in the mailbox, and I bought some cough linctus for dry, tickly coughs. I can't say which one, but Ainsley would have been proud of me, right? So I bought a bottle of this stuff, and I think I've spilt it on the arm of the chair, and now I've put my arm on the arm of the chair, and it's all over, and I've got quite hairy arms, so I've got hairy, sticky arms now. So maybe the Fly would be a better superhero for me, Kev. I think, I don't know. Anyhow, we digress slightly.
Slightly. I'm sort of confused a bit now after listening to Mo. What I'd phoned up to say was I've heard John Bangs before and respect him.
He's a good bloke. He's a good man.
Bloke, yeah. But and I know he was trying to speak perhaps on behalf of somebody else, and I know teachers have a rough time. It's not all 6 weeks holidays a year and finish at 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm sort of confused by him saying, well, it's the easier option sometimes to let them do it because of the disruption that they would cause if you didn't let them do it. But I sort of popped in my head then, what if one of the kids said, well, I ain't going to have my fag break today. I'm going to nip down the corner and do the old corner shop where I get my fags from. I'm going to nick all their fags.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to nick a load of birds. What would you do then? You can come in and breaking the law of smoking anyway.
Yeah.
And you can't, like you say, most you can't put your hands on them. You say, well, go and have your fag break, but you know what? Don't come back. Take your chance. Go. See ya. Ta-ra.
But then, and this is the thing, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Kev. But then, in the back of my mind, I think you, as a teacher, you'd go home that night and you'd think, have I just consigned somebody to the dustbin of life because they smoke?
That child has probably done that themselves anyway. Because, like we've all said, if you smoke, you've got a very good chance of dying really quick.
I know, but they're 14, Kevin, and just think back to when you were 14, right? And if I said to you, right, Kevin, you've got to make some life choices now at 14, to be honest with you, I couldn't even decide what channel to have on the TV, and there were only 4 when I was 14, so you do kind of... Do you know what I mean? Do we have to throw them a bit of slack, Grandad, as the kids of today say?
I've got a 13-year-old, we've got a 13-year-old, and I come from a family of 8 now. Can I just sort of put it into a bit of perspective?
Yeah, please.
Half of us smoked, and half of us didn't.
Okay.
The half that smoked are all dead, and the last one died just before Christmas from lung cancer.
Right.
Now, it might just be the toss of the coin, but the half of us siblings that didn't smoke still alive, and the half of us that did are no longer with us.
Do you know what you've just crystallised for me? Let me just tell you something now, and I don't know whether you might agree with this, and maybe this is the issue, perhaps. But the difference between an ordinary teacher and an outstanding teacher is that an ordinary teacher will say, you can't do that, and you've got to go, and that, and blah, blah, and all the rest of it. An outstanding teacher will say, I tell you what, next Wednesday, we've got a bloke coming in with terminal lung cancer.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk to you about what life after smoking is like.
Mm-hmm. You see, I could do that. If I'd have thought of smoking when I was 13, I'd have got a clip round the ear and a size 7 up the backside.
Right.
Now,
and that worked for you, didn't it? I mean, that was...
it worked for half of us. If I was put into a classroom full of 13-years, unfortunately for them, I would have to give them this true life scenario. Half of my family that smoked had all died, and half that didn't. They're all still around. Now, I could go and cross Kingsheath High Street and get run over by a truck. So there you go. That's a chance you take. But it's a chance you take putting a fag in your mouth. But I think I've outlived half my family.
See, I think
that was true, you know?
To me, and again, that's why I think that's a really good point. That hits home to me. You know, so somebody saying that to me is more powerful than somebody saying, "Oh, don't smoke because these are the rules and it's smelly," or "You're not allowed to." What that doesn't mean anything, you know. And if you're 14, maybe I tell you what. Let me just tell you why I say that is because a quick personal story is that when I still smoked, I was sent by a radio station to go and interview a guy who was having, the operation that they do where they take your vocal cords away, because you've got throat cancer, and he was going to have that, but he was having a new one where instead of cutting you from ear to ear. And getting in that way, they actually just made a little hole just above your Adam's apple, and they used a laser. And I went to see this guy, and no word of a lie, Kev, he was there, lying in a room on his own, with his knees raised up on the bed, because he was about 62, 63. He looked about 104. He couldn't breathe. He was like pressing down on the bed to try and get breath. He got tubes coming out of him every which way direction, and that man, without saying a word to me, did more for me than all the other people who'd said, "Oh, don't smoke, you shouldn't smoke," or whatever. That image stayed with me all the while, and I thought, I don't want to be that person. And so maybe we turn this into an opportunity To educate kids?
That's what you do. I mean, I have nothing at all against smokers. Nothing at all. If you smoke, you smoke. But there's one thing I do. We're all going to skip off this mortal coil at some point.
Of
but
course.
I know a fag won't do it to me. But what hit home to me was holding my brother's hand just before Christmas in the QE while he took his last breaths with my mother and the other brothers that surviving siblings there, and purely.
You were there when he died.
Purely for the sake of a cigarette. And if I could, and he was 60, if I could have got hold of his mate who was at school who put the first fag in his hand, that's because my mother was in bits blaming everybody. I said, you need to get the first person he was at school with when he was 13 or 14 and put a fag in his hand.
Yeah. But the reality is, Kev, it's too late to blame anybody by that stage.
No, that's right. It's done, yeah. Done and dusted. I mean, I'm a lot of people who would walk down Kingsgate High Street and get hit by a bus, but a fag won't kill me. Never kill me. That won't happen.
Kev, it's been brilliant to talk. You've really made me think this morning. Brilliant story. I'm so sad for your loss. But good to hear from you, mate. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
And look after that 13-year-old as well. Actually, talking about 13, any 14, 16-year-olds listen to this morning who have got your view on what you think of this story as well. We've got Ranjit waiting. We've got Jarvis as well in Solihull. Jarvis, morning. Hello, Jarvis. He's gone somewhere else. Let me talk to Ranjit a second. Ranjit?
Hiya, mate. You okay?
Hello, mate. Yeah, good, thanks. We'll come to Jarvis after the news and get him back. What do you say, Ranjit? What do you reckon?
I think we're sending the wrong kind of signal here.
Go on.
If you get a box of good apples and put a bad apple in there, the rest of them are going to get rotten. And when you're talking about a last chance saloon, where these kids go, we need to change that. What we need to do is have some kind of discipline, maybe a military school for these bad kids, where you'll send boys in and they'll come out as men. Where they've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do some PT, do some education, talk right from wrong by real men and real women, not people who have done a... I mean, I'm not saying teachers are bad. They've got an uphill task, because you discipline a child, the parent's going to come up and put one on you. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And these kids, I see a lot of kids because, I'm a shopkeeper, and I try and tell them, I say, listen, in 40 years' time, you're going to regret what you're doing. And when you got people in the public who are, like father figures or something like that, people can look up to, and you explain to them, look, I've done that, and it was no good. Some people do listen, but the ones that go to these last chance saloons, they've probably had about 10, 12 different stages of where they could have corrected their way. And when when I was a kid, people used to have that tattoo just underneath the eye when they've been to Borstal. And they used to tell people, I've been to Borstal. It was a big thing. And now when I meet my mates who have been to Borstal, and I speak to them, I say, what do you reckon? They say it was the biggest mistake I've ever done. So
but isn't that the thing, is that we should be getting these people who have been there, done that, bought the T-shirt, and getting them to say to the youngsters, they do this thing in America, I don't know if you've seen it on the TV, where they get youngsters to go into prison.
Yeah.
And they're in the penitentiary, and they go, this is your life. If you carry on down the trajectory you're going down now, this is where you're going to end up. And it's more powerful them saying it than you or I.
Yeah, I watched a program before called Miami Mega Jails.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? When you look at prisons in this country and you look at what they were in Miami, I would be just afraid to go on holiday there just in case if you do something wrong. Right? When you see these role models in America who have been there and done it and got the T-shirt, that's what we need. You probably, when an army officer retires and they're looking for something to do because they're still in their early 40s, we should open military schools for the bad kids, right?
Ranjit, I'm going to have to leave it there, mate. I'm running out of time. Really good to talk to you, make some really good points. Miami's lovely, by the way. Don't be put off. It's well worth it. Although I've never spent any time in the penitentiaries there. Still to come on the show this morning. We're going to take more of your calls because we're getting so many calls about this morning. Great to hear from you. We're also talking about breastfeeding in public as well, the rights and wrongs of that one. And should you be branded by other people on social media because you dared? What was your crime? Oh, I dared to breastfeed in public. I'm some kind of wild animal. Surely not right. We'll explore that one. Get through your tweets and your text as well. Shane O'Connor sitting in for Iain Lee between now and 12. Got the news on the way.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's 10 o'clock, though. Let's get the latest news this morning. Here's Nicole Pullman.
The Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak has said the missing airliner's communications were deliberately disabled and that the plane had turned back from its flight to Beijing and flew across Malaysia. The aircraft has been missing for a week now. The Malaysian authorities are reportedly searching the house of the pilot. Mr Razak stopped short of saying the aircraft had been hijacked, saying they were keeping all options open.
Up until the point at which it left military primary radar coverage, these movements are consistent with deliberate action by someone on the plane.
West Bromwich Albion have sacked their striker Nicholas Anelka for gross misconduct. He's been at the centre of a row about a gesture he made during a match in December, which has been described as anti-Semitic. Anelka had been banned for 5 games and fined £80,000 by the FA for making the sign after scoring against West Ham. But yesterday, the Frenchman revealed on social media that he was leaving the club. Alan Cleverley is secretary of the West Bromwich Albion Supporters Club.
I thought after what the FA had done, he'd keep his mouth shut and let things go to the end of the season. I think most of us will think, let's close the book on this whole sorry incident and get on with playing football. I'm glad it's now behind us.
1,000 people are expected to take part in a mass breastfeeding protest in Rugeley today after a woman was called a tramp for breastfeeding in public. A photo of Emily Slough feeding her 8-month-old daughter was put on Facebook alongside the insulting caption. Emma Halford is one of the mothers who'll be taking part in the protest.
I couldn't actually believe that anybody would comment on a breastfeeding mum and make it such a big deal when it's not really. I've only ever had one negative comment from a gentleman who was looking too long, but I mean his wife quickly corrected him, which amused me.
Local authorities in England are calling on the government to stop wealthy single people being able to claim council tax discounts. The local government association says the money should go to the poorest families instead. The weather dry, sunny and warm today with a top temperature of 16 Celsius, 61 Fahrenheit. Dry and clear this evening and tonight with the breeze keeping temperatures falling no lower than 5 Celsius, 41 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
I do wonder about social media as well, whether people... It's difficult to know, or it's difficult to get it across in the right way. I just tweeted a picture earlier on this morning, just on my way in. Who's responsible for that giant angle poised lamp outside the building? Do you know, Nicole? Have you seen it?
Isn't it fantastic?
I love it. I'm a great one. I'm a bit of a... If I was in charge, I'd waste all our money on street art. I'm a bit sad
but
like
haven't
that.
you seen the plug as well?
Yeah, it's plugged in, isn't it?
Yes, you get the giant plug as
Bit
well.
disappointed there isn't a switch, because I would have got a ladder and tried to find out whether it worked or not on the plug. Do you know what I mean?
I thought it did have a switch.
No, I don't think so. I'm going to have to check my photo now just to find out. But I tweeted this morning, no wonder Birmingham's got no money if they leave the lights on all night. But I didn't mean... Do you know what I mean? And I wonder whether this social media thing, people tweet things, people put things on Facebook, and they don't mean it in the way that you read it. I write something to you, and you read it one way, and I think... I didn't mean it like that. I was only joking.
But I'm sure that there are people out there who are just looking for things to be offended by as well.
I know. They usually write to me in green pen. It's nice to have a bit of a rest, actually.
Shane O'Connor.
On BBC WM.
95.6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
Gives me a bit of a day off. Nicole, thank you. The lovely Nicole Pullman will be back with us in an hour, keeping us up to date with the latest news. That airplane in Malaysia just gets weirder and weirder, doesn't it? The information. So there's going to be more information coming through, and you think, oh great, we're going to find out what the fate has been and what's happening with it, and it just makes the whole thing even more unclear. Not talking about that on the show this morning, though. We are, as I sit in for Iain Lee this morning, we are talking... I just want to do a quick sort of crossover, because I know somebody wants to talk about smoking and breastfeeding, but we're talking about smoking and having smoking breaks for 14 to 16-year-olds in school, and we had some great, really intelligent calls. Thank you for that. On our number this morning, 03453 009956. Calls that made me think, which I just think is fantastic that, you're taking the time not only to call us, but making a really good and cogent and coherent point. Brilliant stuff. Getting some great stuff on Twitter as well. If you want to catch me on there, Shane on Air, all one word, is where you can find me on Twitter, and I'll retweet and answer as I can through the show as well. But we want to turn our attention to breastfeeding on the show this morning. This, as Nicole was saying in the news there, this woman who's been branded a tramp. Somebody saw this girl, this young woman, who we're going to talk to on the show a bit later, called Emily, breastfeeding in public, minding her own business, getting on with her life, and somebody took a photo of her and then said, what a tramp for breastfeeding in public. She's a tramp, this woman, meaning that presumably she's got loose morals, she's disgusting, she shouldn't be doing that in public. And I know, because I've talked to them before, and I know there are people out there who strongly disagree about breastfeeding in public. Now, they're probably not the kind of people that would say that you're a tramp if you decided to do it, but nonetheless, there are people out there that don't think that you should be allowed to breastfeed in public. If you're one of those people, please, this is the time to talk. I want to hear exactly why you think breastfeeding is something that should be confined to behind closed doors. Whatever your point, 03453 009956. Be part of the great conversation that we're having this morning. 81333 on the text, start your message, WM. And as I say, on Twitter, Shane on Air. You can find me there, all one word, and Shane on Air at bbc.co.uk is my email address as well. So if you want to drop me a note and you're near your computer, then lovely to hear from you.
Camp Hill,
Walsall, Coles Hill, Wolverhampton.
Have your say across the West Midlands.
BBC WM
95.6.
Now a bit of a crossover from the last hour to this hour as well. Jeff in Solihull. Morning, Jeff.
Morning, okay, yeah?
Yeah, thanks for being with us. You wanted to talk about smoking and breastfeeding. Can we do the smoking one first of all?
Yeah. Well, I just, when I was 14, I smoked at school, and it was a lot different then. Teachers were stricter, you got the cane, all that carry on. But, I mean, back then, there was not much said about legalising or taxing marijuana, in this country. But now, last week on the radio, there was talk about legalising it and taxing it, because they have done in the States.
Yeah, in one of the states in America they have, haven't they? Yeah.
But them children, 14 to 16, they know about this stuff on the streets already now, They know what's happening. They know it's out there. So if it was legalised or taxed, what would the teachers be saying to them then,
Yeah.
Say, go on, you can go and have a spliff. Go on, you're all right.
Yeah.
Because that's what they know what's happening now, them children.
It's about, and probably, as you rightly say, they know a lot better than the adults do, but it's about drawing lines in the sand, isn't it? You can't draw a line in the sand for a kid, and then when they say, oh, right, OK, I'm going to step the other side of it, say, oh, right, well, I'll draw another one now, and don't cross over that one, and then they cross over that, and you go, well, I'll draw another. You can't behave like that, can you?
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, like you say, there's no authority in schools, there's no discipline. They pussyfoot around too much. It really is ridiculous.
What would you do then, Jeff, if it was you and you were running a class in special education school, and these kids said, "Sir, we want to go for a cigarette break"? What would you do?
I'd probably resign.
Really?
Because of what teachers have to put up with now. They can't do nothing. What would you do? I mean, there has to be guidelines to be drawn up which need to be adhered to properly, strictly, where, because they're just taking that home with them, aren't they, the children? And they're telling the friends, oh, I can smoke at school, come here, you can smoke, you can have a fag. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it, really?
Yeah, come on, then. Give us your thoughts on breastfeeding, then, in public. This woman's been branded as a tramp, Emily. We're going to talk to her later and find out how she feels about that. But what do you reckon?
Well, the person, if it's an he or a she who posted that tweet, should have the balls to come on your radio and explain themselves. She shouldn't be called a tramp. Sorry for saying that as well, but that's what they should do. They've got the nerve to post that tweet, but they haven't got the nerve to come on the radio, or that lady needs an apology. really does.
In terms of photographing her as well, cowardly, do you think?
Yeah, they must have been looking for that opportunity. You know, you don't just, your day-to-day life, you don't just think, oh, I'll take a photo of that. Are they perverse or something?
It's strange. I mean, I've said this for a long time, though, and we find this, you know, when people get trapped or animals get stuck down a well or whatever, the first thing we always do since the smartphone, take a photo, take a video. We're weird, I think, as people. Jeff, good points. Thanks for that. Appreciate you being with us this morning. Let me do some of our texts we've had. 81333. Start your message WM to join us on the show. Julia, thank you for your kind words. Do appreciate that. She just sent a nice note saying that she's enjoying listening to the show. Well done, Emily. That's the girl in question, the girl that was breastfeeding that we're going to talk to on the show later, that has been branded a tramp for her actions. Her stand against repressed bigots and the moral majority, as well as the abuse of social media in Rugeley, has spread across the country. This morning, similar Rugeley principle protests are happening in other towns. Informed dissent in action, says Andy Summers in Walsall. Andy, thanks for that one. Paul says, Shane, I raised the point during the week when it was being debated on WM, but I think it's food for thought, pardon the pun. Go to your town centres on a Friday or Saturday night and you'll see grown men urinating openly in public. I'm so glad you've mentioned this. I'll tell you why in a bit. Women displaying an array of body bits. We are, as a nation, we seem more prepared to accept this disgusting behaviour than as normal. Is it not more of an issue and more appropriate to label these individuals tramps, says Paul in Dudley? Fantastic. Is he right? Is Paul right? I mean, we are seeing bad behaviour out there, but breastfeeding certainly isn't what it is. Let's talk to Inez, who's in Handsworth Wood this morning. Morning, Inez.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us. What do you want to say?
Yes, it's concerning the lady, breastfeeding her baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, when I was growing up as a child in the West Indies, and I used to see, mothers feeding the baby, still we thought it was horrible. But
what's horrible about it?
Yeah, because we've never seen things like that.
Okay.
We thought things like that supposed to be in secret. But then coming up into England and have my children, I've never breastfeeding in public anyway.
Right.
But I would say, if you're going to do it in, outside, you do it discreetly.
Yeah.
That, you could, make something cover over your stomach, you feed your baby. That's why it's nobody's business, But I wouldn't go and call that person a tramp or take a picture that is out of order.
Right. And when you said you're right. I mean, there was a whole generation who would have fainted at the prospect of this, wouldn't
Yeah.
they? What are we talking the 50s, I suppose? Are we, or earlier that, or later than that? 50s?
No, because I came to England in the 50s.
Okay, which was quite a conservative time, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
So
we were as children, we would think it's an horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
But coming up now, in the 21st century, it's a different ball game.
Isn't this always the barrier? Isn't this the wall that we always hit, Enes? I mean, if you go back to Victorian England, they thought that a woman's ankle was a very, very sexual thing, and if a man saw a woman's ankle, it was the highlight of his week, let's be honest. Now I can walk down New Street, I can turn into Corporation Street, and there's ankles on display everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Is that just, times are changing now. We've got to get up with it, haven't we, I guess?
Yeah, it's like, as I was saying, the people that goes around in the nude?
Yeah.
They have places for that specially. So if you go and you pass a nudist camp and you see somebody walking around naked, then you just wouldn't blink an eye because that's the appropriate place for it.
I think we're talking about naturism later, actually.
Yeah, that's it. But
I don't get that. I'll be honest with you. Playing ping pong in the nude.
Yeah.
I've never understood the appeal of that one, I'll be honest with you. And I've done both. I've been nude, obviously, only in the shower and the bath. And I've also played ping pong, but I've never understood doing the two together, but there you are. Do you still think, and be honest, Enes, because we can tell, do you still think that it is disgusting to do it in public?
Well, I would not say it is disgusting, but I would say if you're going to do it in public and you have no choice, then do it discreetly.
Okay.
You see, like, you know, if you're at a bus stop or maybe wherever you are,
Yeah.
have like a towel or something, you know, just put across your chest.
A shawl or something like that,
that's
yeah.
right, and feed your child. It's nobody's business. But, you know, because, you know, everybody's going to be staring, you know, and looking and passing comments, you know. But as I say, you know, everybody's different.
I knew somebody, a friend of mine, who used to breastfeed, and to be honest with you, in order to know that she was doing it, you're right, you'd have to, because she used to have a shawl.
That's right.
You'd have to have a blooming good stare. I mean...
to know what she's doing.
To know what was going on, yeah. So you think,
that's right, you know.
well, whose fault's that? You can't complain because you've been staring at somebody else, can you? That's crazy. And it's good to talk to you.
Yes, darling. And it's just nice to talk to you,
And
too.
you as well. What a beautiful...
You have a good day, darling.
And you, darling. Take care. What a beautiful name as well. Enes from Handsworth Wood joining us on the show. What do you think? 03453 009956, my number. Let's get up to date with the latest travel information. Liz Saul's our gal providing the details. How are we looking, Liz?
Thank you very much, Shane. As you head in and out of Birmingham, it is starting to look a little bit busy. The A38 through Selly Oak as you head towards Priory Road and in the Edgbaston direction. Around Tipton's a bit busy as well on the A461, and further along the A461 through parts of Dudley, you'll still find pockets of slow traffic. Now, it's particularly around the Burnt Tree traffic lights at the junction with Tividale Road and the A4123. Your match day travel sees Baggies fans heading off to Swansea this afternoon to kick off. It's about a 3-hour journey time, but the M5, the M50, the A40, all looking pretty clear so far this afternoon. Both Blues fans and Walsall fans heading up to the Yorkshire direction, Sheffield and Rotherham respectively. Up the M42 and the A42 and the M1, all looking pretty good so far as well. No reported delays there. If you can update us, call BBC WO95.6 travel 08453 002288.
I can't get that Prawn Island out of my head now.
Have I worried you?
Well, I'm just worried if there's a tanker of tomato sauce and a tanker of mayonnaise. You could have a lovely prawn cocktail down there, couldn't you? It'd be nice.
In terms of that recognition, you know, from your home city, you've mentioned the award from Birmingham City University, Dr. Jeff Lynne, and the Walk of Stars on Broad Street. How much does that mean to you?
It means the world, actually.
Adrian Goldberg.
This week, exclusively for BBC WM, I spoke to one of Birmingham's finest songwriters, Jeff Lynne. Hear the interview online now at bbc.co.uk/WM.
BBC WM
95.6.
I love Jeff Lynne. I do. He's such a nice guy. There was a documentary on BBC 4 a while ago called Mr. Blue Sky, and I managed to see it and get it on the. I've seen it on the iPlayer actually. And I've raved on about it ever since, which is just basically an interview with Jeff Lynne sort of pottering about his house, talking about his musical influences, his early life in Birmingham, why he went into music, some of the bands that he was in, production, just the whole thing. And just looking around his house now, which his house in California has turned into one sort of giant recording studio. And what a nice guy. If you ever get the chance to see it, I don't think it's still on the iPlayer, but I mean, obviously Adrian's interview would be great to listen to as well. But it just put me in mind of that. If you see it, it's called Mr. Blue Sky, and a documentary about Birmingham's own Jeff Lynne, and he just comes across as such a great guy. And I got this theory about Jeff Lynne as well, that he's got it sussed. You know, people really worry about this being seen and spotted all the while. But I reckon Jeff Lynne just shaves his beard off, puts contact lenses in, and nobody would have you'd pass him in the street, you wouldn't know who he was.
BBC WM
95.6.
There's a lot of beard going on there, isn't there? You can't deny. Yeah, great documentary, or great interview rather, coming up with Adrian Goldberg. Can I tell you, after us today, by the way, after me today, I'm here with you through until 12, sitting in for Iain Lee on BBC WM 95.6. Daz Hale warming up in the next studio. In fact, he's got his green leotard on and leggings, doing all his exercises that he normally goes through just before going on air. We're going to have to get some blinds for the windows between these studios. But he's with you between 12 and 2, getting ready for the big Saturday afternoon of sport. Your calls, plenty of laughs as well between 12 and 2 with Daz. And then from 2, as Liz was saying, obviously, a lot of people travelling out the area, not least the West Brom fans this afternoon. We've got Swansea West Brom from 3 o'clock. updates, and Villa Chelsea 5:30. But that isn't online, so you're going to have to listen either on DAB or on old-fashioned FM. Swansea versus West Brom from 3 o'clock, updates, and Aston Villa versus Chelsea 5:30 commentary. That's from 2 this afternoon here on BBC WM 95.6.
BBC WM
95.6.
We've been talking as I sit in for Iain Lee. Shane O'Connor with you, by the way, through until 12. Sitting in for Iain Lee today. And we've been talking about this poor woman who's going to join us a bit later on the show. In fact, actually, we're going to talk to her now as well, because we've been talking about her a lot this morning, and you've been talking about her a lot as well. She had the audacity, I don't know what's the matter with the woman, she had the audacity to breastfeed in public. And it started this row now, and somebody branded her a tramp on Facebook. Can you believe this? Because she breastfed in public, she's now been branded tramp. I wonder whether this says a lot for social media and the problems that we have with the people that are allowed on there, rather than the people who, I say tongue-in-cheek, have the audacity to breastfeed in public. Let's talk to the woman, because people are fighting back about this. Emily joins us on the show this morning. Morning, Emily.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us. Well, what about you? What a tramp. How dare you? How dare you breastfeed your own child in public? You should be ashamed of yourself, shouldn't you?
Yeah, indeed.
When was the first you knew that you'd been branded a tramp by some plank?
Well, when I got home that evening, I was alerted by a friend that there was this picture that had been put on this page anonymously, and this person had called me a tramp for feeding my baby in the sunshine.
So they called it you anonymously, of course. They hadn't even got the guts to front up and to say that they thought this was... And they'd taken a picture of you?
Yeah, they'd taken a photo as well, without me knowing about it. Obviously, I'm minding my own business. I don't expect people to be taking photographs of me when I'm feeding my baby.
Do you ever catch people looking at you, staring at you? And I don't mean in a way, but do you ever catch people kind of thinking... You know that look. You know the look on the face I'm talking about, Emily. They're judging
very
you.
Occasionally, but usually you kind of clock them pretty quickly, because I'm quite comfortable breastfeeding, but I am aware that some people do feel like that. So when I'm doing it, I'm always sort of, a little bit on edge, thinking, oh God, is someone going to say something? Is someone going to give me a funny look? And very occasionally you sort of get a bit of a snooty look, usually from sort of older women who are thinking, oh gosh, cover up or whatever. But no one's ever had the nerve to actually say anything, let alone take a picture. We
were talking to Enes a few moments ago, and I think it's right. I think there is a generational thing there, isn't there? People who maybe were younger in the 1950s do have this very different view, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's also younger people as well, those sort of teenagers. But I think, to be honest with you, I think that's just a maturity thing.
Well, hold on. Teenagers, what? Who judge you for breastfeeding as well, do they?
Yeah, but I don't think that's because they think it's disgusting or whatever. I think it's maturity, and they haven't sort of reached the maturity level where they can sort of say, actually, boobs aren't just in magazines for, for teenage boys, they're for babies, because they're not at that level yet, which I can kind of understand, because they're kids and, it's adolescence and boobs are funny, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's intellectual maturity, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I don't expect to receive that kind of feedback from people who should be mentally mature enough to handle a pair of breasts and realise what they're actually for.
So, sorry to interrupt, I was going to say, do you get to the stage where... And you made the point quite well, actually, because you said, I'm there, I'm breastfeeding, and I try not to upset people, because after all, you're breastfeeding because your child is hungry, not because you want to see how many people you can upset, how many photos you can get taken.
I've had it said to me. I've had a lot of comments over the past week from people with various different opinions on the subject. I've had people say that all breastfeeding mothers are doing it for attention, which I think is absolutely absurd. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to make my way home. I really, really want to get home right now, but my baby's hungry. What I'm going to do is sit in the middle of town, just see how many people I can attract, to come and throw insults at me while I feed my baby.
And who?
I really...
Do you know, was that a man or a woman? Was that young or old that said that? Do we know?
I think that was a man, that particular one. I don't know how old. This was a comment, because there's been so many threads on Facebook, and I haven't had a chance to read them all. So I just sort of skimmed through and just, to get a general idea of what people are saying. And a couple of them have been sort of, oh, God, I just want to, shout at them.
Well, the interesting thing is, despite the fact, and I really want to have the discussion on the show this morning, and I've said to people, if you really do find it disgusting, let's have a grown-up conversation about it. Tell me why you think it's disgusting. But quite clearly, even after the furore that's been caused by somebody covertly taking a photo of you and then posting it and calling you a tramp, there are still people who back that position. And there aren't people... They're not saying, I don't particularly agree with breastfeeding, but what a disgrace that somebody secretly took a photo and is now calling you names. That doesn't seem to come into it, does it, really?
No.
Isn't that a bit weird, isn't it?
There in the first place, as if I deserved it. It's ridiculous.
Have you ever got to the stage, and I know this is probably a new milestone for you in how bad it's getting, but have you ever got to the stage where you thought, do you know what, I just don't want the hassle, I'll just let my baby cry and they can all sit and listen to that, because I'm fed up of being judged? No?
Do you know what? I would never, ever, ever do that, because my baby comes first. I do not care whether I'm upsetting other people by meeting my baby's needs. That is their problem, not mine.
Are you surprised by the strength of feeling that's come out in support of you? Because a lot of people have stuck their head above the parapet and said, actually, good on Emily, well done to her.
Yeah, I've had an amazing amount of support, and I didn't anticipate that I would ever get that amount of support. I just kind of thought that, I'll share it and a couple of my friends will see it and we'll go down there with our kids and we'll just, show them that actually we don't care and we're going to do this anyway. But the amount of people that are actually going to be attending and that have said that they support me is just fantastic. So it really does go to show that a lot of people feel like this, and a lot of people think that attitudes need to be changed.
Is it ever a problem for you to breastfeed in public because of there are areas where you think I don't feel comfortable breastfeeding now? I'm not sure where they would be. But has there ever been a time where you think, I'm going to have to move from it? I suppose the only thing I can think is in a religious building, isn't it? I suppose, and then
I'm
again.
Not personally religious.
No,
I've never sort of been in the position where the only time I've ever attended the church is sort of for a wedding or a christening or something. But to be honest with you, I'd breastfeed in church. I don't see anything wrong with that.
And has there ever been a place where you thought, actually, I don't feel comfortable breastfeeding here? Not that I shouldn't, but you don't personally feel... No?
No, because me personally, I'm very, very comfortable and confident with my feeding, which, it's good that I can do that, but I know that there are a lot of people that would feel like that. I mean, not just... anywhere in public, people feel like that, and this is what this whole campaign is about, because I don't think that women should have to feel like that. I mean, it's not fair that they should feel like that, because they're not feeling like that because of themselves necessarily. They're feeling like that because of the impression that they will be embarrassed because of other people's opinions, and it's not fair.
What's going to happen today? Then you guys all getting together, are you, and having a little bit of a demo kind of thing?
Yeah, we're just having a little peaceful protest. I'm not entirely sure how many people are going to be. I think somewhere in the region of 200-ish. But that's not, confirmed. It's not set in stone. It's just whoever wants to come down and support, then they're more than welcome.
But what are you demonstrating against? I mean, what are your banners going to say? Down with stupid people with Facebook. I mean, presumably that's what we're talking about here.
No, we've sort of moved away from the individual that posted it, and this is more of a widespread thing now. It's about making people feel comfortable and confident in breastfeeding, and letting them know that it is okay to do that in public if they want to, and just letting them know that people support them, so that they don't have to feel ashamed of it.
And there are people. I mean, you talk to other mothers, do you, who are, and using your word, are ashamed.
Yeah, a lot of people. I've had so many messages from people saying, people don't even humour the idea of breastfeeding before they've even had their baby because of fear that they may have to do it in public, which is completely and utterly wrong. People should be embracing breastfeeding. It's one of the most amazing experiences in the world, and they should be wanting to do it, and they're just being put off by other people's opinions, and it's completely outrageous. The one thing, and I think I heard you were clipped in our news this morning as I was driving in, and knowing that you were going to be on the show, I thought I've got to ask you about this. I think, was it you said that sometimes you catch people smiling at you when you're breastfeeding? Was that you? No, that wasn't me.
Oh, right. I heard somebody say, somebody maybe who breastfeeds already, and they said, sometimes I look up and you see people looking across and like women or whatever.
You do,
to me, go on.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I have experienced that as well, where you sort of get people walking past you and they give you a sort of smile as if to say, you know, people that have been there, I imagine, sort of, and they know what you're experiencing, and they think it's nice that you've got the confidence to do that. So you do get support as well. You know, it's not all bad. I think, actually, the people that don't agree are in a minority.
I just think that's as weird, really. If I caught somebody... It's the fact that they're being part of that sort of moment with you, because I mean breastfeeding is more than feeding, isn't it? I mean it's a connective thing between a mother and a child. And I think I'd be really embarrassed to be caught intruding in that, in a way. Do you know what I mean? In a way, I kind of think, well, that's
But it's the same when you're pregnant, though. When you're pregnant, you get people coming up to you and sort of rubbing your bum.
You're
and smiling
joking me.
And they sort of think that because you've got a baby there, they're touching and feeling the baby, but they don't sort of have any consideration for your personal space.
What, people that you don't know will just come up and rub your belly and go,
when you've
oh.
got a big baby bump and then just come up and they start touching it and waiting for it to kick and stuff, and you're like, whoa.
That is a little bit weird, yeah, I've got to be honest with that. So,
yeah, I imagine it's the kind of people that would do that sort of think they can smile and give, you know, come and look at the baby while you're feeding it. It's the same kind of thing, I think. But I think they got good intentions. I don't think they quite realise how.
We were talking about this, the whole your story before the show, and thinking what would have happened 20 years ago. Would have been, presumably, you'd have taken a photo and then got to have it developed in Boots, and you'd have had to wait 2 weeks to get that back, and then you'd have attached it to a piece of card, and you'd have put the caption...
Stuck it on a lamppost.
We thought maybe put it in the post office. You know, the post office or the local newsagents had a shop, had a board in their window, so you put "what a tramp" on the photo, and then put it up there. And my point is, and this is why I wonder, is that, you know, again, we're hearing another story, Emily, of social media... Not knowing boundaries, and this is the problem. People think that there are no boundaries on social media, and of course there are.
Yeah, well, especially when you can post things without putting your name to it. People get brave, don't they, when they're hiding behind an anonymous, and it's like, well, I can say what I want because I'm not going to get the backlash on me. I mean, whoever did this, I still don't know who did it. It's probably feeling quite small right now, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter who did it because it's gone further than that now. This is about raising awareness for a general opinion, not just about the idiot that, you know, felt the need to take the photograph.
I'll get told off if I don't ask you the question. Where are you guys today? If people want to go along and show a bit of solidarity, a bit of support, and they're in Rugeley.
Me personally, I'm going to be attending the Rugeley mass feed. That's going to be on Market Street in the middle of Rugeley town.
There are others, aren't there?
12 o'clock. Yeah, there is a few more that I'm aware of. I know there's one in Milton Keynes, there's one in Swansea, there's one in Stirling in Scotland, I think there's one in York, and possibly one in Kent too.
Emily, you've gone viral.
Everybody knows who I am and my boobs.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Thanks for joining us, Emily. Good to talk to you, mate.
And you, see ya.
Take care. Emily Slough there, the lady at the centre of this controversy. Well, is it a controversy? We've heard her side of the story now. Not that it really is a side of a story, but we've heard her reaction. And what was that she said? It's easy for people to just sit behind anonymity and say, I don't agree with this, but I'm not actually going to give you my name and I'm going to stick it out there and I'm going to call other people names. Is that more to do with social media and not knowing the boundaries? I don't think, and I've got to check, I've just gone through some of the text, we'll do some more in a second. I don't think we've found anybody yet who is against breastfeeding in public. There are people out there. I know you're there.
More goals, more games.
Today from 2, hear exclusive FM commentary of Swansea versus the Baggies, followed by Villa versus Chelsea from 5:30.
BBC WM 95.6.
I know you're out there. Give me a call, will you? 03453 009956. 81333 on the text, start your message WM to join us on the show. Stick your head above the parapet and let me know. If you don't agree with breastfeeding in public and you want to have your say, let me know why. I'd love to hear from you, whether you're a mother and you breastfed and didn't like it and don't think anybody else should do it now, or whether you've got a family member who does it, whether you've seen it, whether you see it a lot, maybe it happens in your workplace and you feel really uncomfortable with it. Let me know on the show this morning. Don't forget you can tweet me as well. Shane on Air, all one word, ShaneOnair. Shane on Air on Twitter is the place to find us. Let's talk to Brian in Yardley Wood. Hi, Brian.
Morning, Shane.
What you got for me, mate?
Well, I really don't understand people. I mean...
You and me both, fella.
I mean, she's doing the most natural thing, what comes to a woman.
Yeah.
You know, what's wrong with breastfeeding in public? You know, some people are really short-minded, aren't they?
Can you understand anybody, though? I'm trying to think, and because we haven't had anybody on the show this morning, and I promise I won't, you know, I'm not that kind of person anyway, but I won't get on your back, I won't give you a kick. I just want somebody to have a fair say and tell me why they think that they don't like it. And that's their opinion.
I bet the majority of people that don't like it are men.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
What, embarrassed by it?
Probably.
Don't you think it's a generational thing as well, though? People who were raised in the 50s, maybe, before
Is it Emily, is it?
The lady in question?
Yeah.
It's Emily, yeah.
Yeah, well, good on her. You know, more women should be like her and have the you know, the guts to come out and do it where she wants to feed a baby, where she wants to feed a child. There is nothing wrong in doing something natural.
A lot of people have been saying if you walk down Broad Street on a Saturday night or whatever, there's women with their boobs hanging out and skirts up to their knickers and all of that sort of stuff, and they find that more offensive than anything.
Well, trust me, there's quite a few of them and all, yeah, you know, I mean, but Emily's just doing the natural thing, what God give her.
And can you think of a reason? I'm still trying to think of a reason why somebody would say, I object to this.
Well, I could say something, but I don't want to.
Brian, good to talk to you, mate. Thanks for that. Brian in Yardley Wood. It's the most natural thing. She's just doing what comes naturally. That's it at the end of the day. Paul in Dudley said, oh no, we've done his already. Mohammed in Edgbaston said, tried to call. Oh, you did actually, right at the start of the show. I saw it ringing. Sorry about that. I didn't get to in time. He said, I was in church after the service. I was talking to a woman. He said, then this little old lady pulled me aside. And she said she wished she'd fed her baby. I didn't even notice. Oh, she said that this woman had been feeding her baby in church. That's from Mohammed and Edgbaston. Mo, thanks for that. Jay in Dudley says, Shane, I'd like to know how old these kids are that are smoking. The teachers are breaking the law by letting them smoke if they're underage. Yeah, 14 to 16, so they are. Because you can smoke at 16, can't you? But 14 to 16, you can't. If there's any youngsters, by the way, who still want to talk to us about smoking, we're still here. We're still on the same number, 03453 009956. Leave the breastfeeder alone. She's done nothing wrong. A tramp is somebody who walks around the streets with their trousers hanging off their backsides, showing the worst kind of cleavage, says Anonymous on the text this morning, 81333. Start your message, WM. Shane, breastfeeding in public. Here we go. Breastfeeding in public is not only disgusting, but totally unnecessary. Women today are selfish, lazy, and totally inconsiderate to other people and their babies' needs. They spend all their day shopping, and more shopping. Just go to any shopping centre, they're always rammed with women. Always buying clothes. Get your days organised and shop when you need to and not when you want to. Feed your babies at home and get some work done around the house. You're spoilt, pampered, lazy, and you're not proper mothers. That's from Russ. Are you having me on here? I thought motherhood was supposed to be hard work. Don't make me laugh, says Russell in Alvechurch on the text this morning. When you think about what Russell's saying, it's not only disgusting breastfeeding in public, but unnecessary. Russell's saying if you organise your day better, you can breastfeed in the home. There's no need to do it when you're out, for goodness sake. Your thoughts, most welcome on that one. 03453 009956, or if you want to do what Russell's done, on the text 81333, start your message, WM.
Shane O'Connor
on BBC WM
95.6, the voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
It's 22 minutes to 11, is it? 22 minutes to 11, flying this morning. It's Shane O'Connor sitting in for Iain Lee between now and 12. Julia is in Acox Green. Morning, Julia.
Good morning.
What do you want to say?
I just wanted to share an experience that I had breastfeeding.
Oh, okay.
I've had 3 children and breastfed them all, and they've been fed whenever they've needed to be fed. That has included sitting in the back of church. And it's a discreet process. My daughter wasn't too discreet. She used to smack her lips when she came off it, and that was what used to draw attention, not me sitting there.
It was the noise you made that people complained.
Well,
I love it.
She just wasn't very discreet herself.
Okay.
But she was a little baby.
Yeah, sure.
But
can I just, before you tell me your story, can I just ask you, did you ever verbally get... Did anybody ever come up to you and say, "Oh, Julia, please"? I don't think this is either... You never got challenged?
I had people come up and say, "How lovely, that's really nice."
Right.
And my story is really about that, but it wasn't lovely for me. I was in Italy and my young son was 5 months old, and we were at the height of summer. He needed feeding a lot because he was very thirsty. And I found a very quiet corner in St Mark's Square in Venice, sat down right up this corner to feed him. And I was just sat there, really oblivious to anybody else going past, just concentrating on what I was doing. Looked up, and there was a man in front of me, and he was filming me. And I got quite upset. And it would have been obvious to him looking down his camera, I was getting upset, and I asked him to stop.
How far away was he?
Not very far away.
Because you had a conversation with him, and he heard you, so I'm guessing within talking distance.
Far,
okay.
And he wasn't English, but I think no is no in most languages.
Yeah.
And he just carried on, and I got very, very upset. And because I was sitting on the ground with my baby on my lap, I couldn't get up. I felt very vulnerable.
Who was he?
I don't know. I think he was a German guy. But I don't know. And eventually he stopped and he went off. But that really did upset me for a long time. And it impacted on me for quite a long time afterwards. I felt quite violated.
Yeah.
But that was just a one-off experience.
I can understand that. Do you think that... And I had a text this morning, which was something that I was thinking on the way in, about what's the closest that a man could get to this to understand. And the only thing I could come up with that was as close was if you were urinating in public. Now, I know people will be appalled that I'm drawing a parallel between the two. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that's the nearest a man gets to understanding what we're talking about here. You have a physical need to do something, and you have to do it there and then, and there is nowhere else that you can do it. That's, to me, can you think of anything closer than a man comes to?
I don't know, because when you're feeding your baby, you're not like lobbing your breasts out for everybody.
I know. And I'm not saying it's a good analogy, but I'm saying that's the closest that I can...
But there are plenty of men that urinate in public without any thought to who can see them.
Yeah.
And if you drive through France, it's a very common sight.
Yeah.
And people don't even turn round. They're facing the traffic doing it.
And that's my point, is that I mean, people do say it's a man's world, and I just wonder whether men have a lesser understanding, do you think, in your experience? Women kind of get it because very often they'll have been mothers, may have been through it themselves as well, so they get it, whereas perhaps men don't. Have you found that or not?
I've never been uncomfortable feeding in front of men.
Right.
The only men I wouldn't feed in front of was actually my husband's in-laws, because they actually leered, and I just wouldn't do it in front of them. I'd go upstairs away from them.
Right.
But my own brother, my own, the men in my side of the family, no problem at all. I don't know. I think men do have an understanding of it. It tends to be women who are the objectors.
Really?
Well, that's what I've experienced.
Women,
I
what?
haven't personally experienced, but I know that friends, it's women who've come up to them.
Of a certain age? Is it to do with
older ladies?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. But I think that, and when I say that though, I mean because they were brought up in a different era.
Yeah. Mhm.
Maybe that's why you get that reaction.
I think it was much more common for women to be in the home and not actually go out very much at all as well.
So they didn't need to do it outside. I mean, that text, I don't know if you heard me read that text out.
Yeah.
That we just had, which I don't know whether. I mean, no disrespect to Russell, if that's his view, that's fine. But I got halfway.
On his own.
I got halfway through it, and I thought, is he having me on here? Is he winding me up? He kind of said, look, that you're being, well, let me quote him, lazy, inconsiderate to other people, and your baby's needs as well. If you were breastfeeding somebody out, Julia, and you could if somebody said to you, "Look, I'm really sorry, and I don't mean to, intrude, but that really does make me feel uncomfortable. What you're doing there, could you stop? What would you stop?"
I'd ask them to move somewhere else, because I've never sat like right in the middle of a restaurant. I've always gone up a corner, turned my back to everybody.
Yeah, you don't blow a whistle and then start, do you? That's the thing. You don't go like, everyone, look at me, everyone. I'm going to.
If all I could do was feed my babies at home, I wouldn't have got out. 2 of my children fed every 1 to 2 hours, but they slept the 15 hours a night.
Right.
So I would never have actually got out the house.
Right. So it isn't an option, is it? Listen, it's really fascinating to talk to you and interesting. The people, out of all the people that you wouldn't breastfeed in front of was essentially some members of your own family. Julia, thanks for that. Julia in Acox Green with her thoughts. Brilliant call. 03453 009956. If you want to react to what Russell's saying, he's saying that breastfeeding in public is not only disgusting, totally unnecessary. Women, if you do it, you're being selfish, lazy and totally inconsiderate to other people and your baby's needs as well. Spend less time shopping and being out enjoying yourself and more time looking after your child. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, but that's essentially what Russell in Alchurch has said on the text this morning. 81333. Start your message WM. Love to hear from you. Liz Saul is keeping us up to date with all the travel across Birmingham and the Black Country. How are we looking, Liz?
Not too bad, actually, Shane. It's still busy through Selly Oak on the A38, particularly going inbound towards Edgbaston and passing Priory Road. It's picked up around Dudley on the Burnttree traffic lights all along the A461 as you head past Prawn Island, you'll be pleased to know, Shane. And around Tipton is also looking much better further along near to the junction with Lower Church Lane. Now, your match day travel sees West Bromwich Albion fans heading to Swansea this afternoon. It's going to take you about 2.5 to 3 hours, but the M5, M50 and the A40 as well as the heads of the Valley Road are all looking okay so far. Blues fans and Walsall fans going up north along the M42 and the A42 to Sheffield and Rotherham respectively, and onto the M1 is all looking trouble free and no reported problems there on those routes. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
Bernie, who's looking after me on the show today, just congratulated me on my voice and how, I managed to keep talking.
Well, I said it sounds dead husky.
Normally people say, "Oh, can you shut up a bit now?" That's really nice to be congratulated. It was a bit frustrating. I was just thinking on the way in, when your voice doesn't work on the radio, it's the equivalent of working on TV and super gluing a crash helmet to your head, full face crash helmet. It's really frustrating, but hopefully it's not sounding too bad.
BBC WM
95.6.
Oh, it's just to see so many people. I think we've all got Irish heritage somewhere along the line.
This year, BBC WM is going to be live from Birmingham's biggest party.
We're going to start the St. Patrick's Day parade. 1, 2, 3, go!
Bringing the atmosphere, personalities and stories to you.
It's been fantastic. Birmingham Parade is the best parade because the atmosphere is so much better.
Join me, Pete Morgan and Bob Brolly live from Digbeth as the city turns green.
Purely and simply, this parade gets better and better.
Birmingham St. Patrick's Day Parade. This Sunday from 12.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM
95.6.
Yeah, never mind coming to the parlour. If you're Irish, come into the parlour. Join BBC WM 95.6 for our special tomorrow. 2-hour special around this time. In fact, it's 12 till 2. They're talking about 12 until 2 tomorrow, St Patrick's Day Parade, as Pete was saying with Pete and Bob Brolly, where you get to hear lovely phrases like, "Oh, I'm from Sligo, I am." That strange mix of Irish, like my dad's got, that strange mix of Irish and Brummie. Or Brummie-ish, as I call it. You'll hear lots of that and getting some lovely descriptions of the parade. So if you're not around tomorrow, not able to see the St Patrick's Day Parade, 100,000 people they're talking about being part of that parade tomorrow. So if you can't be part of that, or maybe you can, take a radio with you and get to hear what other stuff is going on. We'll keep you bang up to date with Pete and Bob Brolly tomorrow, 12 until 2.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
Now, we've already talked to this woman who's a bit of a tramp, according to people on Facebook, for breastfeeding in public. She's from Rugeley, and her name is Emily. And as I say, we had a chat with her a little bit earlier on about why she dared to breastfeed in public. It was great to talk to her, and we've had lots of comments since. Let's talk to Simon in Erdington, who joins us on the show this morning. Morning, Simon.
Hi, hello. Yeah, I don't like breastfeeding in public. No.
Do you know, I knew there was somebody out there. It was whether they were just brave enough to pick up the phone, and you have. I really appreciate it. Why? What are your objections?
It just makes me feel uncomfortable that, showing off their bodies like that.
They don't know, do they? They don't. I mean, isn't that the point? Is that when you have to be quite starey to figure out even what's going on in most cases, don't you?
Well, it's there. When you do notice, it's there. When I remember a few years back when one of my friends and his girlfriend had their young baby.
Yeah.
And she used to breastfeed, and she used to go out the room. He used to tell us to go out the room, actually.
Right.
And because it's not right to see a woman's breasts.
And I know
it's part of their body.
I was going to say, I know what you're saying. You're saying because you think. Well, let me ask you. You think breasts are sexual? Is that what you're saying? And therefore, in some way, seen. I know they're not being used in that. They're being used to feed a child, but you still see them as sexual rather than as just biological.
I think a lot of men do. Yeah. Even women, they haven't got the right to. Infringe on what I don't like just because they want to breastfeed. They should do it at home. They should organise their own day and, do it somewhere privately.
All right, you're sat on the bus, right, and you're going into town or something like that, and you look across.
Totally wrong.
And hang on, let me finish. Hang on. And the woman across the way from you, you're way ahead of me here, aren't you? The woman across the way from you, Simon, is breastfeeding. What do you do? Do you say anything? Do you get up? What do you do? What do you do?
Just look away. They haven't got much respect for themselves if they're just, showing their body like that.
Showing that? I can't. The showing the body thing. I was talking to Jimmy, who's producing the show today before we came on air, and he was saying about he had a family member who used to breastfeed. He said, and she had a shawl, a breastfeeding shawl, because you can get these shawls now, can't you? A breastfeeding shawl, and she put this shawl across. He said, and you would really have to look very, very hard.
Not right.
It doesn't matter what I say, does it? Tell me something. Do you class yourself as squeamish?
Not really, but
are you a very moral? Are you a very moral man? Do you think? Are you?
Yeah.
Do you believe in sex before marriage?
No.
Are you religious?
I was brought up religious. Yeah.
Can I ask what religion?
Christianity.
Do you think that? Do you think that has some impact? I'm trying to think whether because I was brought up as a Catholic, and I'm trying to think whether that would have an impact on the way I viewed it as well. Where do you think it comes from? Do you think is it? Did your parents say to you that that's?
They used to have women at church who had young babies, and they used to have a women's room where they breastfed. You can't do it out in front of everybody.
So, by all means, do it, but do it in a discreet way and away from the public, as far as you're concerned.
It's to do with women's rights. Women think they can do what they want, when they want, to suit themselves.
Yeah.
They are selfish in a way.
Well, do you know what? I was just asking the lady who was on just before you, just before travel, and I don't know if you heard, I asked her that question. If somebody came up to her in the nicest possible way, somebody like you, Simon, said to her, this really makes me feel uncomfortable, and I know it's irrational, and that's just how I feel. Would you mind stopping that? What would you do? And she said that she would ask you or somebody who asked her to go somewhere else.
Well, that sums up her way of thinking.
Do you know what? I really appreciate you picking up the phone this morning, honestly, because I know... Has it been a big thing for you to come on the show and do this?
Well, not really. I just surprised more people didn't phone in, but probably scared. Well,
I think because obviously when the weight of opinion is against you, as it is in this particular, it's really difficult to come on and have that conversation and tell people why you feel like you feel. I mean, if you were to sum it up in as few words as possible, why you think that breastfeeding shouldn't happen in public, what would you say?
Because it's not natural. But,
it is natural. You can't say it's not natural. Out of all the things you can say, you can't say it's not. Making up a mix of artificial milk out of powder and putting it in a bottle and then feeding it to a child, that's not natural.
It's natural to breastfeed, but not in public. And I don't agree with women having maternity rights, like what's it called, maternity leave, forced on small businesses and things like that. Women haven't got the total right to do everything that they want to do.
Would you if you were up against a women's rights group now, they'd say what you're saying is sexist. How would you answer that?
So I was brought up. You know.
But do you think it's sexist?
No. What I'm saying is right. The way things should be, you know.
Do you think it does come from your parents? Do you think that maybe things that were said to you as a youngster are forming your opinion of how you feel now? Do you remember your dad saying this a similar kind of thing, or your mum when you were young?
My mum.
Right. And what would she say? She'd say it was disgusting as well.
She'd say there's a time and place, and women should organise their life better.
But a different generation, don't you think? Don't you think we've moved on a little bit now? Like I was saying earlier on, I know it's an extreme example, but in Victorian times, you know, men would faint if they saw a lady's ankle, and we've moved on from that now. And don't you think that's what we're talking about? Is we need to move on?
No, we're talking about the decadence, the going down of society. It's not getting better.
You think this is moral decline in a way, then?
Yep, part of it. Yeah, one of the moral declines.
Simon, brilliant. Honestly, you've really made me think now, and I'm sure made a lot of other people think as well. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Okay, bye.
Take good care, and thanks for your honesty. Simon in Erdington. What do you make of what he's saying? 03453 009956. Part of the moral decline, and he's wrong. Teresa is in Sturchley. You've been listening to that. Do you want to comment on what Simon was saying, Teresa?
I wonder what he wants to go up King's Heath to see the young women with half the breasts hanging out.
What, on a night out kind of thing?
No,
rather?
of shopping.
Right. Okay.
I mean, the little cut blouses, dresses they wear.
Yeah.
And men walking around with the trousers below their bottom and their underpants showing, and their cheeks.
I can't get away with that look, personally. What else did you want to say? Did you want to say?
It was in the paper a few weeks ago. Pope Francis was conducting a number of baptisms in St. Peter's or the Vatican.
Yeah.
And this baby was crying. And Pope Francis told her to feed her baby. It's hungry.
Yeah.
And she went behind a pillar discreetly and fed him. And Pope Francis passed by. And there's a man that's not even married. And he knew the child was crying, it was hungry, it needed his parents. I would like to know what planet these people live on.
There is a generational thing as well, though, isn't there? Is that we put up with a lot more now than we used to years ago, Teresa, as well. I mean, have you seen times change?
We were a family of 11. My mother breastfed us all.
Right.
She couldn't afford to buy all
formula and all the rest of it. Yeah, probably wasn't about. Yeah.
Taking us natural.
Yeah.
And you just be discreet. I know they can have a shawl or someone to put over them. But I had a lady in the church. She was breastfeeding her baby, and I went up to her and I said, "There's a room where you can go and feed it." Oh, she says no. She says I'm quite comfortable there doing it in front of everybody.
And everybody was okay with that.
Well, the altar servers were all watching, looking.
Yeah.
You couldn't blame them.
Trying to figure out what life's all about, Teresa. Good to talk to you. Thanks for that, Teresa in Sturchley. Wow, I'm blown away this morning. Some of the calls that we've had, absolutely amazing. Some of your texts as well, some great stuff, and I promise I'm going to try and get through as many as I can before we finish in an hour for now. It's Shane O'Connor sitting in for Iain Lee on BBC WM 95.6. Keep your thoughts coming, 03453 009956. More to talk about in the next hour, 81333. If you want to send me a text, you need to start your message WM, and don't forget I'm on Twitter as well. Shane on Air is the place to find me there, and you can drop me an email as well, shaneonair@bbc.co.uk. Still to come on the show. Are we still doing the naturists? That's what are we? We're really going to shock you. Naturism still to come on the show. I'm just going to slip these cumbersome clothes off.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
What you're all pulling a face for. 11 o'clock, let's get the latest news this morning. Here's Nicole Pullman.
Malaysia's Prime Minister Najib Razak has said the plane which disappeared mid-flight a week ago had its communication systems deliberately disabled. Investigators believe the aircraft flew for nearly 7 hours after its last communication. Mr Razak told reporters they didn't yet know if the aircraft had been hijacked, but insisted they were keeping an open mind. It's reported that the house of the pilot is now being searched. Rupert Wingfield-Hayes is in Kuala Lumpur.
He also said that satellite data had shown that the plane had continued to transmit for up to 7 hours after it turned back, suggesting the plane may have flown on for up to 7 hours. And that's why this search area has been so vastly expanded today.
A mass breastfeeding protest is to take place in Rugeley later, organised by a woman who was called a tramp for breastfeeding in public. A photograph of Emily Slough feeding her 8-month-old daughter was put on Facebook alongside the insulting caption. She didn't know she had been photographed until it appeared on the internet. She told Shane O'Connor on BBC WM this morning she's aware some people don't like to see it, but this is outrageous.
I am aware that some people do feel like that, so when I'm doing it, I'm always a little bit on edge, thinking, oh God, is someone going to say something? Is someone going to give me a funny look? And very occasionally you sort of get a bit of a snooty look, usually from sort of older women who are thinking, oh gosh, cover up or whatever. But no one's ever had the nerve to actually say anything, let alone take a picture.
West Bromwich Albion have sacked their striker Nicholas Anelka for gross misconduct. He's been at the centre of a row about a gesture he made on the pitch in December, which is regarded as anti-Semitic. Anelka had been banned for 5 games and fined £80,000 by the FA for making the sign after scoring against West Ham, but the row continued. Alan Cleverley is secretary of West Bromwich Albion Supporters Club.
I don't think it'd be a massive loss. Very skillful player. Not contributed that much to the club this season, apart from those unfortunate goals at West Ham. So I don't think it'd be a massive loss on the playing sense.
A Euro Millions ticket holder is £108 million better off after scooping the 4th biggest lottery jackpot ever in the United Kingdom. The prize means the winner is now richer than George Michael or Robbie Williams, although it's not known if the ticket belongs to one person or a syndicate. The weather dry, sunny and warm today with a top temperature of 16 Celsius, 61 Fahrenheit. Dry and clear this evening and tonight, with the breeze keeping the temperatures mild, going no lower than 5 Celsius, 41 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
Nothing wrong with nudity, Nicole, is there? Look. Although I wish I'd shaved my legs now. That's my own fault. I didn't know it was going to be that kind of show this morning.
Lovely.
Have you ever considered Nudist Colony? I always think of Carry On. That's every time I get the Carry On music in my head. Have we ever fancied?
No, but I do understand that, we are still animals, aren't we?
I don't know. I think we're a nation
animals.
of prudes. Listening to some of the things that are coming through on breastfeeding this morning.
Well, it's just what you're used to, isn't it?
And we're gonna talk nudist. I always want to say Nudist Colony, but I presume that again that's my 1970s upbringing, isn't it?
Shane O'Connor
On BBC WM
95.6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
I do want to go Whoa, a bit like Peter Butterworth, but maybe not. we are talking nudism on the show this morning. Young naturists, they're having a weekend, apparently. I've never understood the first thing you want to do when you whip all your kit off is head to the ping pong table. I've never understood that. Why would you want to do that? What is that all about? They're going to try and encourage people in their 20s and 30s to become more comfortable in their own skin. Talk about that in a second. And if you've ever done it, please do get in touch. 03453 009956. If you've done it in the 70s, even better. WM is the way you need to start your text and send it to 81333. How old are we? We're talking about breastfeeding in public. I'm really going to stretch your sensibilities now. What do you think about nudism? Is it just an excuse for a bunch of perverts to get together, as I know a lot of you will probably think it is? Or is there nothing wrong with the human body and we should be, we've all got one. They're just not all the same shape, are they, really? So we're going to explore that one in a little while, explore nudism. We're also talking about a shortage of skills as well. And if you'd like to join me this morning with your memories of working in manufacturing, I don't care what it was, or when it was, if you used to work in manufacturing across the Midlands, because we've lost so many great manufacturers. So I'd really be quite interested to hear your stories of whether it was Rover, whether you worked for companies like IMI down at Witton, they used to make arms down there. How dangerous a job was that? Wasn't there a big explosion at Witton at one stage? We're going to talk about a shortage about engineering, because engineering has changed so much. But I love your old stories as well about working in manufacturing in the Midlands, whoever it was that you worked for. Anyone work for SU down at Erdington? All those names that have gone now, it's so sad, isn't it? 03453 009956 is the number. 81333 on the text. Start your message WM. And let us know who it was you used to work for, what it was like, and whether that kind of image of working in manufacturing was working for companies like Rover. And I know towards the end of their tenure, they were quite clean, weren't they? It was quite a clean place to work. But at one stage, metal bashing across the Black Country was considered to be quite a dirty occupation. Is that now what's putting youngsters off? And never mind Scottish independence, here's one for the people who want to have their say. What about having a vote and referendum on English independence? The English Democrat Party are holding a spring conference today, and they're demanding an English independence. I have said for a long time with Scottish independence, I think we should have our say, whether it's online or whatever. I don't know whether we have a full-blown referendum. But how horrible being talked about by the Scots about whether they want to be part of us anymore. Maybe we should start saying, actually, do you know what? England, we're going our own way. Forget the Welsh, forget the Northern Irish. You do your own thing, we're off.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
Is it me or is it hot in here? We've been talking about breastfeeding. Time to get our kit off now and talk about naturism. This weekend, a spa in Birmingham is holding a young naturist weekend to try and encourage people in their 20s and 30s to become more comfortable with their bodies. Don't phone me now asking where it is and can you get tickets. We'll tell you at the end. Let's talk to Tim Higgs, who's from the Clover Spa, who joins us on the show this morning. Morning, Tim.
Good morning, Shane.
I'm all right, thanks. See, I'm fully clothed. Are you?
I am at the moment, yes. In the office at the moment, but we're getting ready to launch the weekend from 12 o'clock.
Now, it's very rare that I ask people that I interview on the radio whether they're fully clothed or not. It's even rarer that they say, I am at the moment, which means that you're intending to strip off, are you, a bit later on?
If I get a chance later on, whilst I'm working, I can't. Unfortunately, all the staff have to remain clothed. But all the guests can be naked or just with a towel on. They'll have a lot of fun, enjoy the spa facilities, massage, beauty treatments, food, drink. We've got a singer coming on from 5 o'clock tonight and a guy coming to talk to us about the World Naked Bike Ride.
I'm going to try and ingest all of that. Now, you've got a singer, the singer's coming on.
Yes.
And they're going to sing...
Heidi Brown at 5 o'clock.
And they're going to sing...
entertainment, a bit of entertainment.
No, I'm all for that. They're going to sing fully clothed to a room full of naked people.
Yeah, you got it.
That's got to be it. That's got to be one of the more unusual gigs, hasn't it? I would have thought, really.
It's done quite a few times. They enjoy it. It's a very, very warm, friendly environment. When you take your clothes off, you just become very friendly. It's a healthy thing to do, and you become more confident in your own skin. It's a good thing to do.
How long have you been doing it?
30, 40 years.
Do you remember?
I'm not the young one that we're trying to attract,
No, that's probably why they want you to keep yours on. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but yeah. Do you vividly remember the first time that you went naked, as it were?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Go on.
It's quite a daunting thing, but it is also at the same time very liberating.
Tell me about, because I'm interested in what motivates you. First off, what was the motivation?
Oh, I was on an exchange visit in Finland, staying with a family, and so the family all sauntered naked. After you got hot, you took a walk down the to the lake and jumped in the lake. So it was it was a good experience.
How old were you?
14.
What was that? I mean, come on, 14-year-old lad,
Yeah,
and you're just a bundle of hormones and insecurity, aren't you? I mean, that's all that a 14-year-old is made of. Is hormones and insecurity stitched together with a few blood cells.
But you have to say it is very liberating, and I've enjoyed it ever since. And this is what we're trying to encourage some younger people who are under the greatest pressures in life. With finding jobs and partners and housing, raising kids, and all that sort of thing. Try and give it a go, because you'll find a great deal of confidence in your own skin when you do it, and it's very, very relaxing. Puts things in perspective, take off society's labels, and a lot of your stress goes too.
Although with child abuse being so prevalent in the news, and I'm hear the full question, because I'm not suggesting there's a connection, but what I am saying is, how comfortable do adults feel about being naked in an environment with children who are not their relatives in this kind of situation? Do you know what I mean?
I do. I know. Well, we don't have children we don't have anybody under 18, but and I do speak to people, and they do feel cautious about that.
Right.
But if you were to go to France or Spain and go on the beach there, there's tiny tots to great-grandparents. They're all on the beach. There's never any problem, and they all respect and love each other. It's a British thing, that, and we need more openness and more nude venues where people can, become more accepting of it.
If you wanted to do it now, Tim, are there a lot of places that you can do it? As you said, we need more venues. We need people to be more accepting. But where can? I mean, the only one I can think of is the beach at Brighton that immediately springs to mind.
There's quite a few beaches around the coast, in the West Country particularly.
Is there?
There's two swimming pools in Birmingham. Two of the council-run pools do sessions as well.
I've been away.
Week.
I've been away too long, haven't I? That's the thing. Where are the two pools in Birmingham that do this?
Well, Erdington on a Thursday evening is private hire, and on a Saturday evening I ought to know, but then someone's going to rid me for not knowing. It's south of Birmingham. Spark. No, can't think of it.
I'm trying to think where the pools are in South Birmingham. So I was a North Birmingham lad myself. So.
Saturday evening. I can't think of the name.
If anybody knows, somebody will tell us anyway. So there are two swimming pools in Birmingham where you can currently go to private sessions without your trunks, as it were.
Yeah, and of course Clover Spa, which is quite a luxury.
How many people have signed up for this? Have you got numbers?
We're going to have 40 or 50 people coming along.
That's quite a lot, isn't it, really?
Good. Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be very sociable, very friendly. A lot of people, and when the people who've not done it before, when they leave, and we have them regularly, they just go out with a newfound confidence. They feel really good in themselves.
And these are people in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah. And anybody who's not done it before, but particularly this weekend, we're trying to encourage the youngsters, because actually the older people become less self-conscious and pressures are less, so they just give it a go when you're older. But this is the younger people will probably get the greatest benefit from it.
In the years that you've been a naturist, have you ever? I wonder whether you've sort of seen or heard of people being the wrong kind of people being attracted for the wrong kind of reasons.
Of course there are. but there are in many things, aren't there? You get the wrong people in the pub and land up with a fight. In our environment, it's all very controlled, very safe, and people behave themselves. If they've come for other things, they've obviously come to the wrong place. Again, there's places all around Birmingham where you can get other services. Go there, please. Don't come to Clover Spa.
And there's this thing about graduating towards the ping pong table. I've never understood that.
Oh, I've never heard ping pong. Volleyball, there seems to be a thing.
Why do you immediately all want to play sport? I mean, you sit around in your leisure suits all week long, and then as soon as you get your kit off, you can't wait to get a shuttlecock out, can you? I don't understand it.
Well, yeah, you can do virtually everything in life without your clothes as you do with your clothes.
Yeah.
But it's just, the experience of taking them off, getting rid of the labels, and it's not competitive. You become hugely respectful of everybody else around you. It's just a very, very friendly environment.
Is this the start of a regular? I mean, you were saying about regular swimming pool events, and I just wonder, as somebody who's got a spa, are you looking at a regular kind of thing for this now?
We're going to be doing this probably monthly. We do couples once a month at a weekend. We're probably going to do the younger ones as well. So, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for people to give it a try and learn the benefits, the healthy benefits.
And on the day that we've talked to a woman on this show who was branded a tramp on Facebook for breastfeeding in public, what kind of have you had any? I guess you've had negative reaction, have you?
There is. It's actually surprisingly small amount, and there are some. Let's be honest, some sort of narrow-minded people, aren't there? What could be more natural than breastfeeding your child?
I know. Goodness knows what they'll make of you guys. I've no. What could be more natural than playing volleyball in the nude?
It's not all about that, please. But in the right environment, I wouldn't advocate taking your clothes off and walking down Broad Street, although some people do. I wouldn't. The right environment. What's the problem?
Yeah, interesting. Well, listen, we wish you well with your weekend, and I hope it goes well, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Shane.
And thanks for being such a good sport about it as well. I know we had a laugh, and I know there's a serious side to it, but Tim Higgs from the Clover Spa this weekend, they're all going to be stripping off for their naturist weekend, and he's saying, as you heard there, hopefully it's going to be a regular event. Anyway, Liz is here with the latest travel news, dressed up to the nines. She won't even take a balaclava off, to be honest with you. Let's get the latest. How are we looking?
I'd settle for my beanie hat as opposed to a balaclava.
I think there's something more sinister about having a balaclava. Although it was the bane of my life when I was a kid. My mum used to always make me wear that. I had this brown one made of the itchiest wool ever known to man. Put your balaclava on, Shane. And she used to make me wear it with a hole at the back. I'm sure she didn't like the look of my face, but there you go. How are we looking out there, kiddo?
The M5 going north is slow going. A vehicle broke down between 5 and 4A. That's the Droitwich exit to the M42 interchange. It has been cleared out of the way relatively quickly, and certainly it's through the roadworks there anyway, so you'll find one or two restrictions along that stretch between 4A and 6, but generally looking okay. Not too bad on the A38 now as you head into Birmingham through Selly Oak and Edgbaston. That seems to have picked up for the moment. Maggie's fans are off to Swansea. It's about 2.5 to 3 hour journey down the M5, which is looking okay, as I say. The M50 and the A40 all pretty clear as well. Blues fans going to Sheffield, Walsall fans to Rotherham for their kick-offs this afternoon. Both the M42, A42 and the M1 are all looking pretty good if that's your route to those games. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Would you do it? Come on, that's the question. Would you? Would you go to a naturist weekend? Would you strip off?
I might give it a go.
Would you?
Yeah, I'm quite a private person though, so it would have to be in a controlled environment, such as your previous gentleman was talking about.
Yeah, it was like a spa. I have a spa weekend, but you're able to go around. You wouldn't think. See, I'd say, oh no, I don't. That's not really not my thing at all. I'm
not sure about doing all the sports that you've suggested, but just to go and have a nice relaxing weekend and maybe have a spa treatment or something, that sounds quite nice.
And I'll be honest with you, if it was a choice between taking all your clothes off and exercising, I would go for taking all my clothes off.
In terms of that recognition, from your home city, you've mentioned the award from Birmingham City University, Dr. Jeff Lynn and the Walk of Stars on Broad Street. How much does that mean to you?
It means the world, actually.
Adrian Goldberg.
This week, exclusively for BBC WM, I spoke to one of Birmingham's finest songwriters, Jeff Lynne. Hear the interview online now at bbc.co.uk/WM.
BBC WM
95.6.
18 minutes past 11 on BBC WM. Thanks for your thoughts on the text this morning. Julia says maybe that's why these kids have behavioural problems in the first place. They don't have any discipline, boundaries or structure in their lives. That's Julia commenting on allowing 14 to 16-year-olds smoke in the classroom. Teacher should say, if you smoke, I'm not teaching you, says Sam in Walsall. Simple as that. Although, you know, if you've got kids who are troubled, kids from disrupted backgrounds, kids who have been expelled, you can't call it expelled, can it? Excluded, from school, then maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't give a flying toss whether you said you weren't going to teach them again, Sam. But I appreciate what you're saying. But I think what would probably work for you, and you'd think, oh, well, OK, fair enough, I've gone too far now. They would think, great, I've got my own way. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know. Good text, though. Thank you. Jan says, was it just the fact that she was sitting on a step feeding the child that wasn't right? That's from Jan on the text this morning. Scott the trucker, a man had a go at a lady for feeding her baby one day, so I had a go at him. There's nothing wrong with feeding your child. Scott, thanks for that, who's trucking somewhere across the Midlands. He saw somebody being berated by somebody for breastfeeding. So he got stuck in and defended the woman in question. Well done, mate. Thanks for that. Every animal created breastfeeds on demand. The trouble is, with Homo sapiens, we aren't able to... we're too ready, rather, to persecute our own kind. Emily was doing what's natural and using her body for what it was designed for, says another texter, doesn't leave their name this morning. And Tom says, you mentioned two topics this morning. I've seen women smoking and breastfeeding at the same time.
West Bromwich,
Solihull,
Perry Beaches,
Castle Vale.
have your say across the West Midlands.
BBC WM
95.6.
Wait for it. He's really got your imagination this morning as well, and nice to say. We've got some more calls on this. Roy joins us on the line. Hiya, Roy.
Hello.
Hello, mate. What did you want to say?
Well, Shane, I go to Africa a lot. I'm actually married to a member of the Zulu royal family, so I spend a lot of time over there.
Hang on, let me just soak that one in a minute. That's a first for me. I've never had anybody say I'm actually married to a member of the Zulu royal family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that. That's a good way to start a conversation at a dinner party, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, for sure, Shane. But the fantastic thing is when you spend a lot of time over there and you become like, you know, you're not a visitor anymore, you're a member of the family.
Yes.
It changes your perception about the things, because where I stay over there with the family, you couldn't get more natural anywhere. You're just surrounded and overwhelmed by it everywhere.
By nature?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the family themselves are, like most Africans, are Christians. And my argument with the family has been that they're moving more and more away from their nature. I'll tell you what the issue is for me, Shane. When I was there in October for a month, every day I refused to use the toilets in the house. I would go out into the bush and go to the toilet in the bush, like everything else over there does.
Right.
Apart from human beings.
Why?
So, because it's natural.
Right.
And you might not understand this, Shane. I'm sure a lot of your viewers won't. But when you do it in that environment, when you're just doing it like everything else does, it's just a really liberating thing to do. Despite the fact I'd get arrested for it over here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's different, isn't it? I mean, you've got the space in South Africa, haven't you, really? It's a different... which country are we talking about, by the way?
South Africa.
You are in South Africa, right out in the bush, is it? In the.
Oh, yeah. But the principle is, Shane, is that nature doesn't waste anything. It's waste to human beings and disgusting and all the rest of it. But it's not to nature.
Only because we've kind of developed this sensibility, haven't we? Now, where we kind of feel that we're almost we're above nature in a way. I'm not saying we are.
And separate from it.
Yeah, detached from. Yeah, you make a good point.
And we're not. And when I go there, while I'm there, I I spend my time with nature as a part of nature, not separate from it. And this is the key, you see.
Is it easier for you to do that, though, because you don't do it all the while? If you had to do it all, it's almost like a novelty, Roy, in a way, isn't it? Don't you think it's easier for you because you can do it on a part-time basis?
Well, the thing is, going back to Emily, Shane, over there, a woman would breastfeed her baby anywhere. If you're out in the bush and you're walking along with some Zulus and they want to go to the toilet, they're going to go in the bush because there aren't any toilets around.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the whole culture, the whole belief system, the whole perception of everything is much more in tune with their natural environment.
How do you just as I'm off the beaten track a little bit here, but I've got to ask you this because I can't let you go and think, oh, I wish I'd asked Roy some questions about the Zulu people and his relationship with them. But we've not got exactly the best like a lot of other nations around the world. We've not got the best history with the Zulu people. I'm just thinking of Rorke's Drift and other things like that as well.
Yeah.
And it's just, how do you, being British, how do you get on being accepted into?
Well, I can tell you something, Shane. I mean, of course, it was under apartheid. It was a westernised, if you like, white society.
Right.
But I've always said, and I've been going there a long time, Shane, that the British people, as a culture, as a mindset, are much closer to the Zulu nation. And despite all the colonial stuff that went on, the Zulus love the British, and the British love the Zulus.
Wow.
There's a lot of mutual respect. Both warrior nations, and of course, both had their day at the time. But I, when I'm there, I spend a lot of time with Zulus because I can't relate to white Afrikaners, for instance. They're different to us completely.
They're very Dutch, I think, aren't you? When I met, we did the garden route, which most tourists do, and we stayed with a lovely lady who Afrikaans was her first language, actually, and we had some wonderful conversations, but she couldn't remember a lot of the English words for the things she wanted to talk about because she talked Afrikaans all the while. And like you, I came away thinking, there isn't really, like sometimes when you go to New Zealand, for example, there's a connection between Kiwis and the British.
Sure. No
connection at all with Afrikaans. Felt they were more Dutch. Do you get that as well? Do you pick that up?
Absolutely, yeah. And coming back to the thing about Emily, Shane, although you're very interested in Zululand, it's the fact that whereas the African world are now being more westernised, they're moving away from what we should be going back to get closer with, which is the nature of things.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Are you disappointed? Because some people are saying that this, and with naturism as well, some people are saying it kind of almost goes hand in hand, doesn't it? But some people are saying, sadly, that is the British condition. That is what
the Western condition, Jane.
Yeah, but I mean, does that disappoint you that the land that you come from and that you love reacts in this kind of way with people, and then you go to other countries and you see a very different reaction?
Well, no, Shane, I've travelled a lot, and that's what it's all about for me. And in global terms, I think the British are an outstanding nation of people because of our tolerance, of our openness, of our how we engage with other cultures like the Zulu and all the sort of former colonies and everything else. So I think we're an exceptional race of people. And I think if anyone's going to lead the Western world back to more balance with its nature, it's going to be the British people.
How did you meet your wife?
Well, but I served in a military capacity in South Africa many years ago. And when I retired, I decided to buy a hotel there because I just love the Zulu people.
Right.
And I met my wife over there.
So you were a hotelier, and that was when you met your wife. And how long have you been married?
We've been married 10 years this year.
Married in a Zulu ceremony?
We haven't had that one yet because that's an event that goes on for 4 days and involves thousands of people. So it's not something you just jump into.
It sounds like my
wedding. There's lots of rituals and stuff you go through and all this sort of stuff. It's fantastic stuff.
Doesn't it frighten you? The ritualistic side. And when I say frighten you, I mean do you the fear of getting it wrong. Not doing that if it's complicated and over a period of days. Do you kind of because you presumably you want to do your best to fit in. You don't want to be the novelty act, do you? I guess.
Well, while I was out there in October, Shane, my niece got married. My wife's niece.
Right.
and she had a traditional Zulu wedding because she's a member of the royal family.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, it was organised chaos is the only way I can describe it.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if you do anything wrong because everyone's just laughing and singing and enjoying themselves, and no one notices anyway.
Yeah. And if you go through the Zulu ceremony, you might be now, I don't know, but does that because you're married to a royal, you know what's coming here. You've been asked this before, haven't you? You're married to a royal. Does that make you royal as well?
No, but I consider myself to be half Zulu now and very proud of it. If I could choose any two cultures to be, I'd be British and a Zulu, and that's what I am.
Fantastic.
Very proud of both.
I think it's awesome. I do, honestly. That's one of the most... And I get lots of throwaway comments in this too. You know, people say, oh, and blah, blah, and it's just a throwaway comment. That's got to be the classiest throwaway comment I've ever heard in my life, and that's why I had to talk to you more about it, Roy. I would never forgive myself if I didn't. Good to talk to you, mate.
Yes, and you, Shane, and all your listeners as
Thanks a lot. And thanks for your thoughts on breastfeeding as well. We value those as much as the fact that you're married into the Zulu royal family. You meet some great people in this job, don't you? Let's talk to Carl in Tamworth. Morning, Carl.
Morning, Shane. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Now, just to remind me of your royal connections, aren't you the Viscount of Ashby de la Zouch? Is that right?
Yeah, well, I just want to keep it quiet.
But only at the weekends, aren't you? So I'll call you Viscount this morning. What you got for me then? Breastfeeding. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't catch all of all the show sort of thing, Shane. But I know about this lady who was put on Facebook, and I think it's absolutely disgusting what they did to her. I just think, I caught the one guy who was very anti-breastfeeding in public. I think you asked him if he was a Christian, that guy. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, what was his name? Somebody tell me what was his name. I'm just asking Bernie and Jimmy. Can you remember? It was the guy, the quietly spoken guy who said he thought it was disgusting breastfeeding. I can't remember his name. It's a brilliant call that we had on about an hour ago. It'll come to me in a second. Simon. Bernie, thanks. Simon he was, his name.
Right, yeah.
Who sounded, I've got to say, if you didn't hear it, I don't know if we can dig it out and play it again. That'd be really cool if we could. But if you heard him, he was a really quietly spoken, gentle-sounding man, wasn't he?
He was, but I just think that, his opinion was totally wrong. I mean, all the woman was doing was something that's perfectly natural. The baby's got to eat. And, if you happen to be out and about and the baby's hungry, then the lady's got to do what she's got to do. I think these guys who have a real problem with it, who complain about it, maybe they should go and get themselves some girlfriends or some wives, and then perhaps they wouldn't be so offended by just the merest glimpse of the female form. But it's just perfectly natural. It's not. It freaks me out a little bit when I hear them being so disgusted about it, because I'm thinking, well, is there something a little bit weird about you? Are you afraid that it might turn you on in some way to see the slightest glimpse of a lady doing that? I mean, all she's doing is feeding a baby, and I think it's perfectly natural, and I'm on their side. I really am.
Do you know, it's interesting because when I do a show like this and we're talking about a particular story, you do try and think, okay, what are the two sides of this story? What are the two arguments? Okay, on the one hand, the lady will say, well, it's a perfectly natural thing to do, and my child needs to be fed, and you've got all those reasons there. And with this story, on the other hand, and I really did draw a blank, Carl. I'm thinking, what would be the possible motivation? What would people possibly say that they would take exception? And talking to Simon, I'm still not really quite clear or quite sure why. And now I know his mum used to say it, and let's not play that down, because a lot of what your parents say, and parents out there this morning listening, what you say to your kids, I think about 70-80% of it will become their opinion in later life. That's just the way of the world, isn't it, really? But other than the fact that his mum used to say it, and his mum, and you kind of think, well, generationally, that's different. That's probably why that happened the way it did. Other than that, I'm still really not quite clear as to why he objected.
Well, I'm not. I mean, he had a real objection to it, and he said it was wrong for women to show their bodies off. But, this is not a sexual thing. This is a woman feeding a baby. Couldn't be more natural. And if he's got a problem with that because he did say that he saw it slightly as a sexual thing, then there's something wrong there. I mean, go and get yourself a girlfriend, for God's sake, and get your head sorted out, because if that offends you, then there's something wrong. There really is.
I've got one for you then, because we've been talking about this on the show this morning as well. Where do you stand on naturism? Are you keen or not?
I wouldn't say I'm keen, because I don't understand it. I mean, I was speaking to, I think it was Caroline Martin, a week ago or something about naturism.
Yeah.
And I don't get it myself. I don't understand it, because there were people on there saying, well, you feel so liberated doing your ironing with no clothes on or watching TV. And
you are joking
I feel
me.
perfectly fine doing that with my clothes on.
Doing your ironing with it? No chance. You'd be up casualty before you knew it, wouldn't you?
Somebody on there saying that you feel liberated doing your ironing without your clothes on.
That's just dangerous.
Watching TV without your clothes on. I feel fine doing that with your clothes on.
Yeah. Although, I mean, watching TV without your clothes on, but ironing, for goodness sake, you don't want to get that close to the action, do you? Do you know what I mean?
You certainly don't. No, you certainly don't. What is be mine?
Anyone who's burnt your finger on an iron would know. There's no way you want to get. No, I don't know. But I mean, again, do you kind of think, well, all right, each to their own. If you want to do that, that's fine within appropriate confines.
Oh yeah. I ain't got a problem with it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm certainly no prude. I've been a bit of a lad in my time. I've been to swingers clubs and things like that. But
have you?
Oh yeah. I'm certainly not prude.
This is the day for throwaway comments. Sadly, I don't think I've got the time, or we're probably a bit early in the day for chasing that one off. We'll have to have a talk afterwards in private about that one. Go on anyway. You're no prude, yeah, but you're okay with the.
I'm okay with it. I mean, if they want to do it and it's not hurting anyone, they do it appropriately. Not a problem at all. I just personally don't understand it. I don't feel the need to walk around without my kit on just to do everyday things. I'm quite happy doing everyday things with my kit on. I don't get it. I'm obviously missing something, but I don't understand it.
Listen, always a pleasure. Good to talk to you, Carl. Thanks for joining us.
Shane, have a good one.
Carl in Tamworth, or as some people know him, the Viscount of Ashby de la Zouche, joining us on the show this morning. Morning, everyone. So nice to hear Shane. Oh, sorry, that's nice. Thank you very much. For your kind comments. Who's that from? Yvonne. Thanks, Yvonne. Appreciate that. Really nice of you to say. I'm 19 and female. I think breast, says an anonymous texter this morning. Steve, personally, I feel that having smoking breaks for children is just like having a drug break at work. That's from Steve Walton there. Thanks, Steve. Make a good point. The picture of Emily breastfeeding was taken while she was sitting on the steps of a pub. I think that's the main problem, the fact she was sitting on the steps of a pub. It's the most natural thing ever, but she could have picked a better place to do it, says Andy in Kings Norton. You'd think she'd do it inside a pub, wouldn't you, nowadays, because there's no smoking and all the rest of it. I'm a, quotes, older lady, and I don't object to breastfeeding in public, discreetly. I breastfed my children, but in those days there was no feeding on demand. It was every 4 hours with a breast or bottle, so it could be done at home. All the best to Emily, says Anne. What a great text this morning as well. Thank you for those. Some brilliant stuff coming through. 81333 on the text. Start your message, WM. And as I mentioned, you can catch up with me on Twitter as well. Shane on Air is the place to find me. SHANE ONAIR. If you want to make your thoughts known, then you are more than welcome to get in touch. 24 minutes to midday.
The Sunday Mirror has a story about coronations. Oh, gosh, sorry about that. Clip the microphone with the newspaper. It was the Sunday Mercury's fault.
Richard Wilford.
Sundays, 7 till 9.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM.
95.6.
In the meantime, Shane O'Connor sitting in for Iain Lee between now and midday. Still got time to make your thoughts known about anything we've been talking about on the show. It's been a day of throwaway comments, hasn't it, really? My two favourite ones so far is I married into the Zulu royal family. Just by way as an aside, I love that. And I'm no prude, I've been to swingers clubs. Sadly, couldn't follow up on that one, but there you go. Maybe another show, another day. Will we ever regain our reputation for manufacturing in the West Midlands is a question people ask regularly. This year, the Big Bang UK Young Scientists and Engineers Fair at the NEC is taking place this weekend with a massive skills gap and companies now manufacturing more cheaply abroad. Are we ever going to get back to our very best? I was asking for your thoughts. And if you've got any thoughts of working in manufacturing, Share them with us this morning, will you? 03453 009956 81333 on the text. Start your message, WM. I'm just quite interested to hear from people who worked in manufacturing back in the day and how you think about how it's changed now. But in the meantime, let's talk to Paul Jackson, who's Chief Executive of Engineering UK, who joins us on the show. Morning, Paul.
Morning, Shane.
Engineering, I know, because I talk regularly to modern engineering bosses. In many jobs that I do, and I know that engineering now is so different from engineering in the 70s, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and what a wonderful opportunity for young people today, in that we know we're going to need to keep the lights on, we need green energy, we need to have transport systems that work, we need the sort of medical devices that the engineering sector produces, in addition to the cars and aerospace. It's changed dramatically, but it's still a brilliant sector and a place where we need skills in the future.
Do you know, I worry traditionally, Paul, we've put all our eggs in one basket and we've learnt the lessons very hard and very long, things like Rover and their demise. And I've put this to some of the top people at Jaguar Land Rover and some of the other manufacturing companies and the SMMT who oversee motor manufacturers and traders. And I worry that you're putting all your eggs into the motor industry basket again. And if it's a bubble, we're going to suffer the pain again, aren't we?
Well, we need to make sure that we exploit that broader capability that we're building. Let's celebrate what's happening in the automotive industry at the moment and try and bring more of the supply chain back on shore, because your car's not a good car if it hasn't got an exhaust as well that's working for it. So you need that supply chain as well. But Britain is so good at other things. Pretty much every mobile phone you carry around has got a processor that's been designed by those folks out in Cambridge. That's a different way of manufacturing, radically different from, I think, the stories you might get from listeners that have worked in manufacturing before. They're sitting at terminals, they're designing something, and then it's being manufactured all around the world in terms of the semiconductor fabrication. But we all use those smartphones now, and those music players and those other devices, and it's the folks out in Cambridge that are producing the product that goes in there. The glass that goes in so many touchscreens being produced up in the north of England as well. Britain is great at this stuff. Let's make the most of it. Let's make sure that we don't have the skills gap in the future, because then we can continue to grow this. And also, let's make sure that people appreciate that manufacturing is or engineering is 3 times the size of financial services. We thought we'd put all our eggs in that basket some time ago, and yet actually it's still 3 times the size. It's about a quarter of our economy, even more in the West Midlands than across the UK as a whole. That's a real opportunity for us, and for us here at the Big Bang today, it's an opportunity for the young people that are coming to see what they could be part of in future.
I had no idea it was such a huge sector. I mean, I knew it was big, but I didn't realise it was bigger than you would think. If you pick up the FT or look at magazines connected with industry and commerce, you would think it was all about the money men, but it's all about the engineers and will be for the future. Wasn't it inevitable though, Paul, because we let it decay, that we were always going to have a skill shortage?
I think there was an inevitability in the 80s and 90s. Industry went through a lot of change, manufacturing industry, but also energy generation. There was the privatization of telecoms and energy and so on. We really did stop training people in the way that we needed to. So we have got a problem.
And sorry to interrupt, but employee relations were in the basement as well, weren't they? I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think actually when you've got that backdrop of things are not working, you're not investing in the future, then in a way the employee relations will go sour at the same time. It needs a much more forward-looking approach, which I think we've now got and we can capitalise on. So we now fill the gaps from under-training in the 80s and 90s and perhaps into the noughties. We do appreciate that this is a sector where actually the salaries are significantly high, maybe 20-25% higher than they are in other sectors for the same skill levels. Let's make the most of it. And actually, you don't get too many difficulties in employee relations if your salaries are 20% higher.
No, absolutely. I mean, I do wonder, though, where you drive this from. Where does this have to be driven from? Because, you know, universities will say, well, it's us, really, and then colleges will say, well, actually, no, it's us, and then schools, secondary schools and academies that are springing up are saying, well, we're the future, we're where we're going to feed in from this, and I suppose you could even take it back to primary schools if you wanted to as well. But really, I mean, I know they've all got to play a part, but is the one, that you, given that you can't invest in all of it, is the one that you've got to invest in more than others?
Well, we think secondary schools 11 to 14 are going to be incredibly important in this, in keeping kids in touch with the science and maths.
And getting political, academies or not?
I don't think it matters whether it's an academy or it's a UTC or whether it's a free school or whatever name that you put on it. But if we can keep our young people in touch with the science and maths, and we can show them that it's not just about what you've done in your exercise book, but maths is about describing the world. You're painting a picture with maths in the same way that you do in painting a picture in colour. The difference is that with the maths you can change it. You can adjust things. That means you can do better in the future. So if we can keep kids in touch in that way, then we've got the foundation for the future. And then it's universities, it's colleges, and it's employers that will be part of delivering the real skills we need.
I'm amazed that you say that you don't think it really makes a difference with academies. I mean, particularly now you're starting to see, things like I don't know, the Siemens School of Smartphone Technology, Handsworth Wood, this kind of partnership between business and school. You don't see that's going to make much of a difference then?
Oh, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all.
You said it didn't matter whether it was an academy or not, but if an academy is sponsored by a manufacturer and they're prepared to invest into that, I mean, for completely selfish reasons, and well, let's not kid ourselves, but you don't think that's going to drive people more into a technological way?
I think you've hit the nail on the head in the sense of employer engagement in our schools. That's what's going to give us that feeling for careers, that connection with the future, that preparation for life.
And that can only happen with academies, can't it, really, don't you think?
I think we've got to go beyond that, in that we haven't got enough UTCs and academies for every young person to attend one of those. So what we've got to do is take the great things that are happening in the academies, like that Siemens one that you mentioned, like the UTC at Aston or the one at Walsall, where they've got great employer engagement, and let's try and connect employers with the other schools as well. So we don't forget the kids that are in, what you might view as an ordinary school. They're not ordinary. That they are your opportunity for the future. Let's get that great practice in there.
And yet, all of this good talk, and you're not the only one, I mean, I've had this conversation with many other people across different kinds of sectors, and all of that good talk, and only this week, Paul, there was a suggestion that there's still not enough girls wanting to go into engineering because they don't understand what it's like. They have a perception of engineering as something completely different. We're really failing to get that message across, aren't we? How do we get that message across in a more coherent way?
Well, we need to talk with them, and what we've found with the Big Bang Fair, where we have more than half of our attendees are young women, that actually they come here with an idea that engineering is not a desirable career. When they leave here, we double the number that think it is.
Wow.
So once they see that actually engineering could be about saving people's lives in things that they thought were medicine, but actually it's not about becoming GP.
Yeah.
Or it could be about getting clean water to sub-Saharan Africa, which would be the biggest contributor to saving lives in that region. And that's got, again, it's nothing to do with nursing. It's about the civil engineering and the chemical engineering to do it. They suddenly realise that actually there could be something in it for them that really gets them interested. It's that breadth that makes a dramatic difference. And there is some cause for optimism at GCSE now in physics, and physics is something that's really useful for going into engineering. We've got nearly as many girls as boys taking physics. We've got about 170,000 across the country each year. That's great. I mean, that's a dramatic change. The numbers are going up. At A-level and on apprenticeship and vocational courses, the numbers are not good. But, we've got to that stage at 16.
Yeah.
Let's now keep the pressure up. Let's keep supporting those girls in showing them what the opportunities are, so they can make their mind up in an informed way.
Brilliant.
And the informed choices actually tend to mean that they want to get involved.
Paul, keep up the good work. Have a great weekend. The Big Bang UK Young Scientists and Engineers Fair is on at the NEC this weekend. That was Paul Jackson joining us on the show. And if you want to pop along, I'm going to get the details up, actually, of that, and just get all the info that you'll need. I'll have a look at it up on the internet in a second. I was going to ask Paul, and I've lost him now, just to find out whether I think you can just bowl up to that one at the NEC, because I know there'll be a lot of people with youngsters who think, oh, actually, we've got some time over the weekend, and we are able to go to that. The Big Bang UK Young Scientists and Engineers Fair at the NEC, to me, when I was a youngster, I would have loved to. I mean, I remember spending many a happy hour in the Science Museum when it was in Newhall Street with my dad. I just think that was just the bee's knees. And I don't know exactly what was going to be there. So to go to an event like that in somewhere the size of the NEC, to sort of see all the different people and exhibits and stuff that are on there, I think that'd be pretty magical. So the Big Bang UK Young Scientists and Engineers Fair at the NEC this weekend. I think you can just bowl up, essentially.
More goals, more games. Today from 2, hear exclusive FM commentary of Swansea versus the Baggies, followed by Villa versus Chelsea from 5:30.
BBC WM 95.6.
BBC WM
95.6.
Oh, it's just to see so many people. I think we've all got Irish heritage somewhere along the line.
This year, BBC WM is going to be live from Birmingham's biggest party,
We're going to start the St. Patrick's Day parade. 1, 2, 3, go!
bringing the atmosphere, personalities and stories to you.
It's been fantastic. Birmingham Parade is the best parade because the atmosphere is so much better.
Join me, Pete Morgan and Bob Brolly, live from Digbeth as the city turns green.
Purely and simply, this parade gets better and better.
Birmingham St. Patrick's Day Parade, this Sunday from 12.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM
95.6.
Oh, wicked. I've got to dig out that hat that I think actually belonged to Bob Brolly at one stage, because he left it in a studio, and I snaffled it just to wear it, just to take a photo. I've got this thing with hats. I can't help it. I don't think it's because I'm a slaphead, but if I see a hat lying about, I've got to try it on. And it was one of those, those St. Patrick's Day parade ones that you have that's a pint of Guinness with with the green banner. And I've got a picture of me wearing one of those, so I'll have to tweet that over the weekend as well, just to make myself look a bit of an idiot, really. If you want to go to the website, by the way, thebigbangfair.co.uk is the place to find all the details for that. You can log on, you can register, apparently. It tells you all about the event if you're looking at a career, if you're a teacher, if you're a sponsor, if you're a volunteer. And it shows you some of the things that are going to be there as well. And there's some pictures from the show. So if you fancy that, just go to all the www.thebigbangfair.co.uk, and that's the place to find that.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
I'm going to talk to Andy and Carla in a second, but before I do that, I've just got him on the red mic because that matches his eyes.
I'm going to say that no social pleasantries have gone out the window. I haven't seen you in how long, and the first thing I get is an insult.
Oh, come on, give us a kiss.
Marvin, come on, yeah.
Thank you. Well, that was a big one, wasn't it?
Leave it now. There's no punchline there.
Anyway, it's either a meeting of the Telly Savalis Appreciation Society or Daz Hale's on after me.
It could be both.
Take your
it,
pick.
Really?
Yeah.
Who loves you, baby?
Hey, coochie coo.
Yeah, well,
have you seen that, by the way? They've been rerunning that in the afternoons.
Oh, my dad watches it. He has it on all the while. He has the bill on. The bill's on Dave, I think, at lunchtime, and then like Kojak's on in the afternoon.
Cracker, come on, cracker, come on, come on. That's what I do.
And I love the running joke. Really was that his brother was
Stavros.
Stavros had the bushy hair, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like,
was his brother in real life?
That's
that
right,
wasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah, Stavros. Yeah.
Telly Savalis.
Hey,
I've had people. I did have somebody once shout "Who loves you, baby" at me when I actually was. My daughter had got like some lollipops from school, and I was walking down the road, sucking a lollipop, and somebody shouted it out of a window.
I think it was the height of when he was playing in goal for the French at the height of the World Cup. Yeah, I walked through in Marrakesh, the main market, the main souk. Yeah. And they all shout at you because they all know you're English. They can see you a mile off, and they go, "Hey!"
Was it the Union Jack boxer shorts that gave you a
full suit, bowler hat, and then you walk through the souk there in Marrakesh, and they go, "Hey, come to my store." You go, as the price. And they do all that kind of thing. And this one guy, and I just ignore him after a while, and to try and get my attention, he went, "Hey, Barthez." And the wife said, "What does he mean?" And I said, "Well, basically, he's saying I'm bald with a big nose."
Yeah, and of course, what he used to happen at Manchester United every game, one of the players used to kiss Barthez on the forehead, just like you did me, as I walked in a few moments.
It's history repeating.
We've gone full circle, haven't we?
Anyway, what are you doing after 12?
Building up to what?
Enjoy your breakfast, by the way.
Oh, it was lovely. Yeah, I did get splashed.
You've still got some midday.
It was messy. It was messy in our house this morning.
I was listening. Yes.
On the way then, early kick-off from midday, building up to all of the big games this afternoon. Huge games at 3 o'clock.
Sorry.
For Albion, Wolves, Blues, and Walsall, and I've got Villa at 5:30, and I'll be there at 5:30 for the Villa-Chelsea game. Now, in the wake of what's gone on with Nicholas Anelka, who has been your club's worst ever signing? That's one of the talking points to kick us off this afternoon. And also, Shrewsbury are in town. They're managed by Michael Jackson.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've got a bad throat.
Yeah, more like Barry White. This afternoon, any other sports stars who share their names with celebrities? So who's your club's worst ever signing? And that sounded like Phyllis Pierce from Coronation Street.
All right, Pierce.
Do you want a bacon butty?
How are you, Pierce? Yeah.
So your club's worst ever signings and sports stars who share their names with other celebrities, plus some great music, lots of banter as well on the way from midday.
Loving it. I'll be listening on the way back as well.
Listening
to come here.
Mwah.
And two, it's very European.
Mwah.
Thanks, Daz.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
Didn't understand a word of that, but there you go. Let's talk to Carla, who's been waiting patiently in Handsworth. Hi, Carla.
Hiya.
Breastfeeding, we're talking this morning. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are any woman that breastfeeds, a fair play to them. I breastfed non-stop for 6 years. I have 4 children. I'm currently breastfeeding my 9-week-old, and I've loved every single minute of it.
Have you ever had any stick for it, though?
Oh, yeah, I get it all the time.
You're joking. What do people say?
They say stuff. I was actually sat in a restaurant with one of my children, and it was a very popular restaurant, so I won't mention it. And I was asked to leave, and my words to the staff was, "Well, make me." Because I know they can't physically touch me. The police are not going to come and move me.
Hold on.
They make me.
They wanted you to leave their restaurant because you were breastfeeding?
Yeah, they came over to me quite politely, and they, the thing is, I was actually sat in the corner. I don't sit in the middle of the room, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think...
Well, even if you do, it's not illegal. You're not doing anything wrong.
Exactly. I think people do tend to realise that I'm breastfeeding more than other breastfeeding mums, because I actually carry a blanket around with me, and I do cover myself, so you can't see anything basically. And I do think that people might recognise the fact that I'm doing it more than another mother that doesn't cover up. But if you're out there and you're breastfeeding and you don't cover up, fair play to you, because if I had the guts to sit on a public bus anywhere without a blanket, trust me, I would.
Yeah, just back to this, and I'm not encouraging you to mention it. You're right, don't mention it, because we'd have to get them on, and it gets all messy then for no other. I'd love to, if I'd have spoken to you earlier, we'd have put a call into their press office and said, get them on. Are they a chain? Are they a big chain, this restaurant?
Yeah, they are. They're a very big chain.
And just tell me this, do you still use them? Or do you...
No.
I was going to say, because there is no way I would go back in there and give them my money again if that was their attitude.
No way. I mean, I've got a 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old knows that ladies' boobies, they're there to feed babies. They're not there for any other reason. They're there to feed babies.
Yeah.
He came home, they've been learning about babies and stuff and bodies and that in school, and he came home and he goes, "Mum, what do you use a bottle for?" Because they've never used one, they've never been in the house, the kids don't know about how to feed, they've only ever known me, because obviously when I'm in the house in front of my children, I don't cover up.
Right.
And, you know...
No, you wouldn't, would you, really? I mean, that's, like you say, you're in your own house in front of your own kids. No, I'm quite with that. I think
exactly, and my mum breastfed my brother, who is currently 4, so for 2 years as well.
Yeah.
So my youngest would probably remember my mum breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So that's all he's ever known, and I had to explain to him, well, some people choose to use bottles, and he was like, yeah, but why? He couldn't figure out why you would breastfeed. He's very intelligent for his age.
It's weird, isn't it? Isn't it strange? It's nothing to do with intelligence, is it? It's to do with your social connection, I think. That's what I've learnt this morning. I think it's been fantastic. We've had some great calls this morning, Carla, and I will include yours at the top of the pile in that as well. I'm so glad you called me. Thanks ever so much for that one.
Thank you.
And keep
Have
on...
a nice birthday.
And you, and keep doing what you're doing as well. Carla in Handsworth there. She says, good luck to anybody who wants to breastfeed. And it's amazing. Quick chat with Andy Summers, my old mate Andy Summers from the NUT in Warwickshire joins us on the show. Morning, Andy.
Hello, Shane.
Manufacturing and who's responsible. Yeah. You wanted to have
what I want to say is this. You've done something here. I'm on my way to a meeting in the NEAT to talk to parents about my union's strike action against government policies, and you've stopped me. I've stopped on the side of the road because I can't let you just say it's only going to be academies that sort this out.
In fairness, I didn't say it's only going to be academies that sort this out, but if you want that kind of connection between business and schools, it's only academies that will give you that. Surely, Andy, come on.
And that's the point I wanted to make. You must know that many academy chains that are backed by multinational companies are under investigation now, because what we've discovered is that they're using their strengths now. The fact that they've been able to take over schools just like that up and down the country and in Nuneaton, where I'm headed now, and then being investigated, or they're failing. And it has turned out to be, if you like, an exposure of a process that should have concentrated on making the state system better, that has actually brought in massive numbers of people with private interests, some of them very good, some of them with high skills, but actually the chaos it has caused actually stands in the way of what your guest was saying is the way forward, which is everybody together. Don't have lots of piecemeal things, which is what we've got now, and don't allow in private companies that are actually going to exploit our children.
But isn't, and because I'm fast running out of time, but I'm going to ask you this, isn't it because of the fact that it's been done in a piecemeal way, because we are so early on in this process that is making it so fragmented, and as you get better at it, it gets easier?
No, the mistake of this system is that it now means that schools are not controllable by local authorities or by government, and that means it will not be possible to pick up the pieces. This is what we've been trying to say for a number of years. It is now coming to pass, and people will look back and remember these conversations, and I couldn't let you get away with having that message not challenged. When I saw
the phone ring, I thought, I wonder what that's about. Andy, good to talk to you, mate. Andy Summers from the NUT in Warwickshire on his way to a meeting. That's it. It's really flown. Thanks ever so much to Bernie and for Jimmy for producing the show today. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back soon on WM, hopefully at some stage. In the meantime, I think Ian is with you back at the normal time next week. Whatever, I can definitely tell you. Mwah. Daz Hale. Mwah. Standing by. I'm not doing it anymore. I feel a little bit sick. Standing by to entertain you between now and 2. And a great afternoon of football, whatever you're doing today. Have a great one. Oh, and enjoy the St Patrick's Day parade tomorrow, won't you? Don't forget, we've got full coverage here on BBC WM 95.6. That's from midday, around 24 hours from now, with Pete Morgan and Bob Brolly. I don't know why they got him in. It's not as if he's Irish or anything, is it? See you soon. Thanks for your company. Take care.